All right, and we are back to wrap up season one of the Madman's Daily Unequivocal Comedy. Um, Had a pretty good streak going here. Maybe 2 weeks every day in a row here. It has to be over 2 weeks. Longer than that, probably. Probably about 6 hours a day for the last 2 or 3 weeks. And it's been a weird experience. Getting to know my characters again, getting to know these stories again, going through them with nobody but myself right now, at least. Today is Saturday, by the way, May 16th. It's around 8:30 a.m. Figured I'd start a little earlier today on this nice day. We're going to get into a dark type of really Black Mirror episode here. This is the closest thing to a Black Mirror episode I've written. It could be a Black Mirror episode. If Black Mirror liked this script and said we want it, well, I would sell it to them. Because that's probably a better shot of making money immediately. Instead of trying to sell my own way or sell my own scripts on eBay like I tried to do. I was selling season one of these 12 episodes on eBay for $1 million because I didn't know how else to approach it, and that seemed like a legitimate outlet for me at the time. But yeah, I don't think anyone even knew it was on there. If Black Mirror saw this episode or heard this recording right now, somebody sent it to them, whatever, some miracle like that, and they wanted to use this episode and they paid me for the script, hell yeah, man. I would have a script on Black Mirror that would be not quite the goal I'm setting, but it would be good enough for now at least. I got about 20 some ideas left, or in the works, kind of, for future episodes. So if any of these episodes were attractive to a studio, they wanted to take it as a single script, not a part of this series. Might have to readjust a few things, work out some kinks, but yeah, of course, man. I need to make some money off all this stuff, and that's probably more likely to happen than somehow someone purchases all 12 and says, we're going to put this series together like you wrote it. That would be amazing. Yeah, that's how this is set up. That's why I put these episodes in order like this. That's why these characters show up in other episodes, like Beverly and other people. The character we're going to dissect today and analyze is called Paul Garrity. You could look at him as a Sean Hannity type of clone. Nothing against Sean Hannity. Like, he's got his own style as a means of propaganda. Not as bad as maybe some other ones in the past, but all the cable news talking heads, they're offering some agenda based on their advertisers and their platforms. They're working for the political parties, so of course, depending on which one you prefer, you're going to get a different spin on every story. I'm not saying anything radical there, it's just how it is. You go to any country, I'm sure it's the same thing. There's going to be the right-wing view, the left-wing view, and after a while, as you get older, you're like, they're kind of the same thing. They're just looking out for corporate interest. That's really the only party in America is Wall Street. The Republican Party, Democratic Party are not really philosophical entities. They're just working for Wall Street. That's how it's been for a long time. The reason I made this the last episode, this is episode 12 now, and it's just called Garrity. We're going to handle some dark satire regarding American politics, American gun culture, tabloidish social media. Social media can fuck with your head if you let it, and I let it back in 2020. It totally defeated my logic. social media plus all the other shit going on during COVID, all that shit. The first thing I did was delete Twitter when I was kind of rearranging my thoughts within my mentally damaged skull. I was trying to rearrange things and get back to basics, exercise, eating better food, quit smoking. I had an agenda just to live a better life mentally and physically and maybe spiritually a little, but that's always a difficult process for me. When you grow up Catholic and you go to Catholic school for 12 years and then that kind of disappears as you age and then you try to find something new, you try to go back and then you try to merge things together. Like I would practice Ramadan. I would try that for 30 days, only eat when the sun goes down. And then I would try certain things from the Mormon faith. Don't drink caffeine, no drugs. Mormons are like straight edge. No caffeine, no alcohol, nothing to poison your temple. And that's cool. I respect that. I'm trying to live like that. The way I was when I was in my early 30s is completely the opposite of how I live today. I don't put anything bad in my body, and I try to maintain a mental focus, keep myself active, but that's hit and miss sometimes, depending on the situation I'm in. So there's a lot of me in Garrity, but really he's just a character I fell in love with from the episode 2. Originally, I was going to write a whole series called Garrity in the vein of Breaking Bad, where this guy's a cable news host and he gets involved in the scandal. So in response, he has to flee the United States and he sneaks into Mexico, like the reverse Coyote. So he's probably maybe early on in the season of this show that never became anything. I never even got through the first episode, the first script. But he's probably going to say, oh, all these Mexicans coming into America. So now the ironic part of it, he gets involved in some scandal, maybe some insider trading or some shit like that. Maybe he was like a Rush Limbaugh type. And maybe he got involved with opiates and he got addicted to it, and also maybe he was involved in some of the corruption with pharmaceutical companies or something like that. I never really said what happened, but anyway, he would have to leave as a refugee because the FBI's after him. So he goes to Mexico, and in Mexico, now he's like enemy number one because people recognize him. He's like, oh, he's that cable news host talking all that shit about the Mexicans. So he's got to adjust to his new his new environment. And eventually he would get mixed up with the cartel as the cartel starts stealing oil from a company or some shit. Because I think that was a thing on Vice, a news report on Vice, that the cartel would actually steal oil from underground reserves or some shit like that. I was like, wow, that's an amazing theft if you can pull that off. It's like a microcosm of foreign oil wars. A similar type of doctrine. We want that oil. We're going to take it. And I was going to go, try to make it politically charged, whatever it was going to turn into based on Breaking Bad and other shit like that. But it never turned into anything. I didn't even finish the first script, the first episode of it. Maybe I'm not cut out to make a complete series like that. I'm not that intelligent of modern events to write a political drama. I've watched enough of them, but to actually write it and to be legitimate, you kind of have to have consultants. You have to maybe get some FBI people in on it as a consultant to give you some advice on how to write these characters based on real life events. Like, what if somebody wanted to write Snowfall, which was a show on FX, amazing production, about how the CIA were involved in crack smuggling. they were selling, well, maybe it wasn't cocaine, maybe it was heroin, I don't know. But the CIA were making money off of drug dealing in the 80s that kind of affected the whole crack epidemic, and they were trying to fund some guerrilla warfare and shit in South America. Again, I'm probably saying it wrong. I'm probably not getting the information correctly, so don't go look it up. But what if somebody tried to write that show in the 80s while it was happening? I don't think they would be able to. First of all, it would be probably squashed by the CIA. Like, you're not putting that out. The gatekeepers, but they wouldn't have all the information at that point. You could make up a fictional account of a similar story. It's kind of like insider trading, or the Inside Man about the cigarette lobby, right? That was about that. That was a Russell Crowe, the Insider. Inside Man, I think, was that Spike Lee joint about the bank robbery. That was pretty good too. But so anyway, yeah, you probably need a team of writers. You're going to put a series together. Maybe I can write the pilot and be like, yeah, this Paul Garrity guy, he's this aging cable news host, gets involved in a scandal, blah, blah, blah. He ends up in Mexico and he gets mixed up with the cartel. Let's write 12 episodes. It's kind of like Breaking Bad. He has to find a new way to survive in life in his 60s now, in a country where he doesn't speak the language. It's like, imagine Sean Hannity or Rush Limbaugh. They had some scandal, so they have to escape to Mexico and live there as a refugee, like underground almost. I don't know if there's an extradition treaty between Mexico and the U.S. I have no idea. But yeah, that's the vein of that story. It would be kind of dark. It would be kind of funny as well, but plenty of political undertones to a show like that. But anyway, that didn't work out. But I didn't give up on the character. I knew I had a good character and a good basis to form a story. So I included him in episode 2 because he was still in my head at that time. This Garrity guy, put him on Lori's TV, and that's how we introduce him to this audience. And he is very much like a right-wing cable TV host. He could be like a mix of Hannity. Well, his name is Garrity. That's probably why I named him Garrity. Sean Hannity, Bill O'Reilly, Glenn Beck when he was doing his thing with the blackboard. There was a guy on MSNBC, Dylan Ratigan. He was kind of passionate as well, maybe on the other side of things. But he's got some good rants if you look up Dylan Ratigan. There's plenty of other people like that throughout the years. Probably still, it's not done. There's still always going to be Alex Jones types. There's going to be, I forget the one guy's name. He's got a really unique voice, but I forget his name. But you listen to conservative talk radio, you know what I'm talking about. There's always going to be that pompous, kind of arrogant voice from either the right wing or the left wing. It doesn't matter. Maybe more so on the right. I feel like they are more successful over the years on commercial radio. I think the left kind of tried with Air America. I don't know if that's still a thing. But maybe it was on like Sirius or XM, I don't know. It's kind of like the Howard Stern thing. When he left, a lot of people went with him, but also people like me were like, fuck man, no more Howard Stern. And I never went to Sirius when he moved. So he kind of faded in my memory, but yeah, he was plenty successful. And I guess today it's different because of podcasts. Like, for some reason, Joe Rogan went exclusive to Spotify. I guess they just gave him a shit ton of money to come to our platform, so nobody else can play your show unless they come to Spotify. So I guess it's worth it, whatever he got paid. Or the Kelsey brothers got like a crazy amount of money, like $100 million to do their podcast. So there's money in the podcast world. Definite money, like crazy money. if you're able to create an audience like that, and sure, the Kelsey brothers, why not? You get the Taylor Swift audience, you get football fans, you get all these different demographics, which is probably why whenever there's a Kansas City Chiefs game, they always show Taylor Swift to attract a younger audience, attract the female audience maybe, and a different demographic than beer drinking meatheads. Football good, and why am I talking this? Why am I going down this stream? I don't remember anymore. Well, podcasting. You look at the movie Network, and of course, this is my version of Network. This script is my tribute to Network because that's like in my top 5 movies of all time. Howard Beale, amazing casting because that dude sold it, man. In part 2 of this, I'm going to read a speech from Howard Beale. And one of, the most memorable one is just, it's so good, man. When he's talking about the Russians and the war and all that shit that you put on the news right now. And you'll hear the same shit. Cuba, Russia, inflation, crime, drugs, corruption, whatever the fuck else. It's still the same cycle. You put on the news today, it's the same thing from the 70s. Just it's not Nixon, it's somebody else doing something else. But yeah. So I'm going to read his speech after I finish this script. Then tribute, I'll read his speech. I'm sure so many acting students read that when they're like applying for an acting school or going through picking something to do for class. That's got to be one of the most popular of all times, but it's so good. I watched Network not too long ago, and it still holds up, man. I think it's one of the best written movies I've ever seen, from front to back, as a satire, as a comedy. One of the funniest scenes is with the communist group in that little house, and they're talking about distribution rights. That's the funniest thing like I've ever seen in my life. They have like a team of lawyers with this militant like communist group, whatever they're called, and they're like, the one dude looks like some scary dictator, this huge dude, and they're talking about distribution rights and trying to make the contract more beneficial. Like, it's a really brilliant look at the inner workings of political hypocrisy and bullshit. Now, going towards that side of the coin, I'm also going to read from Black Mirror, my favorite episode, 15 Million Merits, which I think is the best writing I've seen in a show or movie, maybe since I saw Network. The speech at the end of 15 Million Merits by the character Bing, I forget the actor's name. I think it's the best rant I've ever seen besides Network. When I first saw it, I was like, holy shit, who wrote this, man? And the performance is crazy. If you've never watched that episode of Black Mirror, just go watch it. You don't need to watch any other episodes. They're all loosely connected, but different characters, different plots, different times. So you could watch it as a singular movie. Just look at it as a movie, 15 Million Merits, and it's worth it. If you think social media is eating your brain or eating your kids' brains, and you're worried about the future, the youths of America, because of all the social media bullshit, the vanity and all that fake bullshit, the plastic shit. People try to represent themselves in such a fake way. I said it before, social media did not cause people to become full of vanity and bullshit, but it was the vehicle for it. People who would never go down that avenue, they would just kind of stay more insular or insulated, whatever word you want to use. They would not spend hours and hours manicuring their profiles, like to make it look so perfect, and of course it's bullshit. I had experiences on MySpace. That's what I started with. MySpace in the early 2000s or late 90s when that was the thing, and then Facebook came. And it was fun at the time when you're young. You don't really know what the hell is this thing. This is cool. I could look at hot women and use it for that. You don't really care at that point, yeah. And then maybe I was on Facebook for 10 years or so, off and on. Then I was just one day, about 15 years ago, I was like, fuck this, it's so stupid. And I just deleted it all. Never went back. I tried to get back on a couple years ago. And I told this story, so I'm not going to talk about it too long. But they said I did something against community standards, so I'm not allowed to get back on, even though I wasn't on for 15 years. What the hell did I do? Of course it's bullshit. It's people trying to manipulate me and spread bullshit. And that's what social media can become because it's such a tool of bullshit. More than cable news. Cable news at least has an editing team and some standards of operation. Social media has none of that. It's run by idiots. It's run by idiots with no oversight, with no rules against the fake bullshit. There's nothing to say, we can't do this. This is so against ethical standards. I'll give the cable news at least a little credit. They're not going to do the things that Facebook does or Twitter does or other social media platforms that are completely just tools of propaganda and against individuals or against larger political parties, political drama. It's creating a hostile environment at times, if you take it that way. Some people love that shit. They can watch cable news all day, go on Facebook, see all these hateful ads, and they're not going to give a shit. But some people do get affected by that, and that's what these outside forces are probably banking on. That, well, some people will get affected by all this bullshit, just like your YouTube algorithm trying to lead you down these weird rabbit holes. Or I'll point to 15 Million Merits again, where you have to pay to skip all the advertisements with your merits. If you're watching a YouTube video and then you see I used to get ads for life extension pills and oh, your teeth are about to fall out. You better get these overnight dentures. And that was a reoccurring one I got for a couple years ago. Every fucking video I watched, it was Bobby Cox, the former manager of the Atlanta Braves. No offense to Bobby Cox, but every fucking time it would split my video up with these advertisements about Bobby Cox advertising false teeth. I'm like, what does YouTube know that I'm not hip to? Am I about to have my teeth knocked out? Am I about to get gum disease like these fucking people? No offense, Bobby Cox. You're a great manager, buddy. I don't want to see your fake teeth, man. So it gets really fucking weird. And I know people could be hearing me and this whiny little bitch. Just get rid of your phone, get rid of your internet. Don't go on YouTube. That's the solution. Yeah, I agree with you, man. And I did that for a little bit. I tried to mitigate the bullshit by just letting it fade away in the background or getting off of it for a while. But I'm also trying to build something, legitimately trying to build a business. And I need to use Facebook. I need to use Shopify, Etsy. I need to use Amazon. I need to use Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, which I got addicted to. Again, I'm only on Instagram once every 2 weeks because I just got way too addicted to it. Instagram is like OnlyFans almost. I tried OnlyFans a couple years ago. I was just like, I couldn't fight the temptation So I signed up to like two models on fucking OnlyFans, and man, that shit is addicting as hell. Like I was the character for some time in my life. I was the character in 15 Million Merits. I mentioned this yesterday, riding my exercise bike, watching porn, because that was like my motivator to go another 30 minutes. I'll just watch some porn and clear my head like that. It is a good escape when you're watching OnlyFans videos, but yeah, it can become too bad of an addiction. It really is. As soon as I signed up for OnlyFans, and this was in like my early 40s, man, I felt like a kid, like on Christmas morning. It was like that addicting, where you can just stalk this model and look at all her naked videos and videos of her having sex and shit. It becomes kind of creepy, and like you're a stalker, you're stalking someone digitally, but you know, that's how they're making money. So is it different if you go to the same strip club every weekend because I'm in love with the stripper, and you just want to have a lap dance with the same stripper over and over again? I guess that can become kind of creepy and obsessive, but sure, the stripper is going to make all the money she can off of you. So it's a weird dynamic like that. But I swore it off because I knew it would become a problem. They send you every morning when you're on OnlyFans, the model that you follow will send you new videos like, "Oh, I just woke up and I was touching myself all morning. Come watch my video." And it's exactly what 15 Million Merits was like, warning people this will become a new form of acceptable. And I'm not saying porn should be illegal or anything. I'm not like that. You could look at the character Joe in that episode, or yeah, in Marathon, he works at the porn store, and he's like, I'm not judging these people. You got to get off somehow. This is how we keep the lights on, after all. And I got the same kind of philosophy. Pornography can be a vice, but because you can get addicted to that. Like a dopamine, you get all your dopamine from watching porn and masturbating, releasing. That's how you clear your tension instead of doing something else more productive. It's not necessarily the worst vice in the world. It's not going to hurt you physically or really mentally either. I guess it could. You could become like Buffalo Bill from, what's that movie? Silence of the Lambs. She puts the lotion on in the basket. You could become kind of a creepy person like that. But to me, it was just like a normal thing. I need to get off. Let me watch some OnlyFans videos. But it got weird when you start getting emails from the models you follow, or like, come watch my new video. And then she's like, it's only $10 more. It becomes a weird type of thing. Like, yeah, sure, you're tempted to do it. I probably did it a couple times where I was like, yeah, I need to see this new video. So it's a dangerous type of addiction. So I became not entirely what that episode was warning against, that 15 Million Merits, but I could see why they wrote that episode, why people turn to porn, social media, and shows like America's Got Talent or American Idol. Like, isn't that one of the biggest no-nos in most religions? Don't idolize people. The artist Kimbra had an album called Idols and Vices. It was pretty good a couple years ago. Kind of related to that, how we idolize celebrity, idolize fakeness, like boob jobs. When boob jobs first started, people should have said, like, yeah, don't do that shit. It's disgusting. I'm not gonna lie, like, I've gotten lap dances from women with fake boobs, and it is kind of interesting. But yeah, why did boob jobs become such a thing? It's kind of gross, man. You're putting like this weird chemical substance inside your body. Like, I don't get it, man. I don't understand a lot of that shit. Like, if people in the early 1900s were like, women are going to be putting bags of silicone inside their boobies to make their boobs bigger, they would be like, all right, the devil took over America. It's a level of vanity where you're actually deforming your body in the hopes of improving your boob size. Like, it is a disgusting type of thing. And, I'm not like trying to judge women who do that, but I guess they see Pam Anderson in the 90s and they're like, wow, I need to get boobs like that. Like, I'll see a huge dick if I'm watching a porno, but I'm not going to go put stuff in my dick to make it look bigger. I know, I think people do stuff like that, but I don't know, man. If I was a woman in my same brain, I would never put anything in my body it is kind of a deformity, man. I don't know. Maybe other people I'm missing the point on stuff like that. I never watched Nip Tuck or shows like that. But yeah, Black Mirror could have made an episode about that if they were around when plastic surgery became the big thing. Botox, all that shit's kind of gross, man. Even wearing makeup, it's kind of weird. I don't know. I guess the real feminist movement, I guess if you're in that, you don't really adhere to wearing makeup or anything. I don't understand it. It's all about marketing and money. Yeah, you're marketing an image to women, but that's what social media does as well. I think social media is more deceptive about it and more, you're forming your own vanity inside of you, naturally forming, you're marketing your own image of yourself, not your real image. Because how many people do that? When I was on Facebook back 20 years ago, sure, I wanted to look cool. I would take a road trip to like go see a concert and I would post pictures like, guess where I'm at? I'm watching John Paul Jones of Led Zeppelin play with Gillian Welch in some cool club in North Carolina right now. Yeah, I'm cool, man. That's kind of partially why I did it, subconsciously, yeah. Plus, I just wanted to have the memory of it. But I was that guy taking video inside the concert, like, oh, I'm so cool. Everyone's gonna love my Facebook post when I share this concert video. Wow, that dude's so cool, man. But yeah, you just have to kind of become your own social media manager at times, or just give it up. If I wasn't doing all of these, trying to do this is my DIY attempt, at least, of creating my own business to make it financially worthy, to get people interested in it. So I need to use those tools, whether they're really doing anything or not. Substack has been good. It's a way to get all my thoughts out, but nobody listens to it. I don't even know if it goes anywhere. My paranoid notions are like, it's probably not even posting because I feel like I would have some feedback at some point. After doing like 350 posts, you think you would get just a little bit of real people like, hey, this is pretty cool, man. I'm also doing this. You want to read my screenplay? Or any kind of connection to that artistic world. So it's very odd that I find absolutely no, and I mean like zero feedback for anything I do. It puts you in that mindset that, yeah, this must be some kind of rigged system again. But I'm not going to get too paranoid because I'm going to leave that for this episode. Garrity, I wouldn't say he's really paranoid, but he's going through some shit in this. He's old. He's getting kind of aged out of cable news. And social media is a new thing. Almost more popular than cable news host. Joe Rogan, the Joe Rogan effect, he's more widely viewed than like a CNN episode. More people would watch a Joe Rogan podcast than like CNN or Fox or anything like that. Because a podcast is actually more information. You could watch the Robert Kennedy one, or he gets politicians on there from time to time. Sometimes it's a 3-hour conversation about UFOs, which could be really dumb or amazing. It depends on my mood, I guess. But when you have a Robert Kennedy, would you rather listen to him for 3 hours or listen to him for 5 minutes from sound bites on CNN or Fox? I'd rather listen to a guy for 3 hours. By the first half an hour or so, it will determine if I want to keep listening, if it's interesting or not. But to at least give people the option to speak for 3 hours and to lay out everything they want to talk about in a very intellectual way that's not rushed. That's the beauty of a podcast. It doesn't have to be Joe Rogan. There's a million other ones you could go down and find interesting conversations. That's really why podcasts are considered, well, not only by me, but from a lot of people. Podcasts are considered more intelligible than watching a 2-minute news clip. Oh, Russia's going to kill us. Oh, the Middle East, we're all going to get blown up by nuclear war. Oh, what else can we scare these people with? Inflation, gas prices, multinationals taking over because of artificial intelligence, quantum computing, all this shit thrown at your face. Like, these newscasters are just throwing shit at the wall. Oh, a new virus on a cruise ship. The newscasters are throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks in terms of what's going to scare people. A new virus on a cruise ship. Uh-oh, what's going to happen? Stay tuned. But by the end of the episode, they'll be like, oh, we got this good human resource, or what's the term? I forget what it's called. They always end the news with like a real happy story of a blind kid playing with a dog with 3 legs. Oh, everything's good again. Look at that 3-legged dog and that blind kid. Isn't life beautiful? Hug your kids and go to sleep, America. You're allowed now. But we're going to be watching you through your phones. So, what was I talking about? Garrity. Garrity's getting aged out. He's a part of that generation of the Hannitys, the Glenn Becks. He's a part of that generation. You could put Jon Stewart in there, even though Jon Stewart is more of a comedian, a satirist, than a newscaster. But his time in the sun is kind of fading. His power of persuasion, his role as an influencer, it's kind of fading rather quickly. And how is he going to deal with this? Well, we'll get into that now. I'll try to read about 25 pages now and finish it later. One other thing before I start. There's an album by Alabama Shakes called Sound and Color. And maybe from 2015 or so. I'd highly recommend it. It had a couple radio songs. I Don't Want to Fight No More. It's an amazing album. Alabama Shakes, I think they only have 2 albums, but Brittany Howard has done some solo stuff. Maybe 2 albums, one recently. So I included that throughout this story like I did yesterday with Tom Petty. Alabama Shakes, Sound and Color. Highly recommend it. It's one of my favorite albums. And it fit the mood of this story so well that I had to kind of find a way to get the lyrics in this and the music. So hopefully I get the rights to use that. All right, we're going to start reading now. This is called Garrity. This is the season finale. So grab some popcorn or whatever the hell, some pumpkin seeds. That's my new snack right now, pumpkin seeds. They're actually pretty delicious. And dill flavored edamame. Check that out. It's pretty damn good. All right, we're going to start this story now. In a dream, Garrity's dream. We're fading into a city street in the daytime. as Alabama Shake Sound and Color plays. Paul Garrity, who we've met before, but now he's a bit older and fatter, probably in his late 50s or so, or 60s. He is dressed in a red, white, and blue bathrobe, very patriotic, and he has an AR-15 strapped behind his back. He's walking on the sidewalk, sipping a coffee, very casually, in this dream. He's walking by pedestrians of all age, races, and genders who carry rifles, handguns, and absurdly large machine guns. So this is the future of Mad Max America, where everyone is just going to be strapped to the nines. The most liberal hippie will still be carrying like some machine gun as they walk down the street. Everything's going to be open carry, like we're living in Wild West shit. That's what he's dreaming about. A tribal warrior dressed in a jaguar headdress marches towards him, wielding a long spear, howling a war cry. The tribal warrior is chanting or screaming, Tiaka mitasuka axalasta tiaxa, whatever you want to put there. I just made up words. And it would be subtitled as, Why do you piss yourself? The tribal warrior's face morphs into a blot of black and white TV static as high-pitched shrieking echoes through the street, as Garrity covers his ears like he's having a tinnitus attack, and he kind of runs away from him. I included this in the Lori episode when she's being chased by the two orderlies in her hallucination. They turn into TV static, so you can kind of incorporate that to Garrity as well. Alright, moments later in this dream, Garrity catches his breath by the front window of a cafe, where a TV inside plays his cable news show, so he's watching himself on the TV. And it's very similar to a Sean Hannity, Fox News type of infotainment. He watches himself on the screen as he's ranting like a madman behind the news desk. So the Garrity in the dream is watching himself on the TV, and this is Garrity on the TV ranting during his this episode. They much prefer dealing out the cards to a blind and deaf citizenry who have been weakened into submission by all that damn fluoride pumped into the water supply over the last century, while endless chemtrails rain down on the muffled hordes unable to make sense of their own cognitive logistics any longer. He bangs down hard onto his news desk, Garrity on TV. Those same parasitic vampires storing your quarterly sacrificial blood samples into their satanic reliquaries. Keep Saturn in Saturnalia. Garrity is just staring at himself on the TV, while pedestrians casually shoot towards each other behind him. So as he's watching himself on the TV go through this nonsense rant, people in the background are just shooting each other, like very casually, like it's just a normal day. No one really runs, they're just shooting each other and just walking casually on their phones as people are just getting shot left and right. Garrity on the TV continues the rant. The threat no longer arises from distant shores where our enemies dream daily and nightly of our freedom's swift demise. My fellow great Americans, the real threat slumbers inside us all, ready to purge without hesitation our quickly fading loyalty. Garrity watches the TV and he's sipping his coffee, and then he walks away down the sidewalk, while the Garrity on the TV leans over his desk like he was trying to get Garrity's attention as he walks away. Garrity on TV. Hey, where you think you going, Paul? You ain't immune to their attacks, you know. Just whose side are you on now? So the Garrity on TV actually sees Garrity walking away, and he's like trying to yell towards him from the TV. Very similar to the Lori situation, but Lori was so out of it that she thought the TV was talking to her while she was awake. But this is Garrity's dream, so at least he could use that as an excuse. Alright, a little bit later in this dream, Garrity is sipping his coffee, walking by pedestrians who are brandishing more handguns and machine guns, grenade launchers, flamethrowers. And then he sits down on a red, white, and blue toilet in the middle of the street where he does his business as cars just zip on by. A newspaper, like a tabloid, is tossed towards him as he sits upon his throne, and he opens it to an ad for Gloritin antidepressant pills with the purple teddy bear mascot and the tagline, "How's your day going, Paul?" He places the paper down and wipes up as hybrid cars cruise by and honk at him angrily. Garrity's yelling as he's on the toilet, "Hey, everybody poops, asshole. Or are you leftists trying to take that God-given right away from us now too?" That's kind of wordy, but you can work on that. Or are you leftists trying to take that God-given right away from us now? I don't know, something like that. He flushes the toilet and he walks back towards the sidewalk, casually flipping off hybrid vehicles as they shoot towards him with shotguns and rifles. I thought it'd be funny, like all those hippie vehicles that say coexist, but all these people that are normally peace and love, they all have shotguns and rifles and they're all shooting at him. Garrity's yelling back towards them, "Ah, you love your guns now, don't you, you hippie crits?" He stares towards a Save the Whales bumper sticker on the back of one of the electric cars and grins to himself. Garrity. Hippie crits. I gotta remember that one. Later in his dream, he's walking through a park entrance, sipping his coffee, as a few female joggers pass by, sniper rifles strapped behind their backs. He turns and stares towards their backsides like a creepy old man that he is. Garrity. God bless this country. He walks farther down the park as three trolls with colorful spiky hair, like those old troll dolls with the weird long spiky hair, standing right up straight up. Those troll dolls from the 90s, like that's what I'm going for. They come to life in this dream, and they're frolicking through the grass. One of these trolls pulls down a businessman's pants, sending him falling over to the ground. The man grabs a small gun strapped around his ankle and fires as the three trolls skip away, giggling together. A purple-haired troll skips over to Garrity as he stares towards a woman doing yoga on the grass. Purple-haired troll through giggles. What do you think of her, Paul? Garrity sips his coffee, raises his eyebrows as to say, me likey very much. The troll runs over and slaps her in the ass as she does another yoga pose, while she pulls out a gun from underneath her mat and fires as he zips away. So this yoga lady's pulling out a gun and just shooting at them. Everyone has a gun in this scenario. Really what this is, I'm trying to create a real social media. What would social media look like in real life with the trolls, with everyone firing at each other, because it could get pretty hostile in the comment section. So this is like a real life social media platform. That's what he's dreaming of it. Society in 50, 100 years is so fucked up from social media. This is what we've become. Everyone's packing and everyone's ready to just fire as soon as you say the wrong thing or look the wrong way, or if you don't look correctly. All right. So this yoga lady's going all Rambo, shooting at them as they run away from her. Garrity, a little bit later, he's walking farther as another troll, a pink-haired troll, approaches him and extends his hand out. Garrity brings his hand down to play along and slap his hand, but the troll moves his hand out of the way, like that old trick, too slow. And the pink-haired troll is saying, too slow, too slow. Now, this troll is rolling around hysterically on the grass as Garrity calmly shoots him in the head with his AR-15, then stands over his dead troll body, while multicolored blood streams out from his head wound. Just then, 2 female police officers rush over. Female police officer 1. Damn it, Paul. You should have just let the mods handle this. They carry the dead troll away. Female police officer 2. Might as well do yourself in as well. I heard there's a bounty out. Female police officer 1. Ooh, someone's getting canceled. Later in that dream, Garrity is by a fountain in the park, swallowing some pills from a prescription bottle, and he's watching Bob Ross paint a country homestead as robot farmers are feeding pigs inside a pen, and Bob Ross is his usual hippie, calm self in a very soothing voice. Oh, how's your day going, Paul? Garrity answers, just peachy, Bob Ross, just peachy. Maybe he takes more pills after that. Now he's breathing in deeply and enjoying the peaceful ambiance as he watches Bob Ross hum and paint until the high-pitched shrieking returns like a tinnitus attack, causing him to cover his ears and stumble away. Moments later, Garrity is zigzagging down the sidewalk, hands pressed over his ears as the shrieking echoes even louder. He pushes his way through pedestrians who walk calmly around him, apparently immune to the noise. A demonic creature, who we will just call Jaguar Woman, appears behind him, moving like flashes of light energy. He darts away from her, in a panic, towards an obese man in a stained undershirt who's whistling towards an attractive businesswoman, and then he's grabbing his crotch and saying towards her, obese man, "Hey, I got some business for you to attend to right here, honey." The woman shoots him the evil eye, then actually shoots him in the gut with her sawed-off shotgun that she pulls out of her briefcase as the man falls right into an electrical pole, which tilts towards Garrity, and it's about to fall on him as he stands frozen. And it's just getting closer and closer, and then that's the end of his dream. So, yeah, what are we talking about here? Everything I talked about in the preamble before this. Social media could fuck you up in your subconscious thoughts. And Garrity's experiencing it in his dream. Really what he's dreaming about is real life trolls and real life hostile people that you meet, whether they're real or fake, because a lot of them are bots. They're not even real people, I guess. That's what the news tells me, at least. So you don't even know what you're dealing with online. And a lot of those social media gatherings, and yeah, you just have to take everything with a good deal of skepticism, because it's easier to survive like that. Don't let your emotions get involved, or don't even read the comments. Kind of like the Conor Oberst song where he's like, I don't read the reviews. I forget what song that is. But he's talking about, I guess, the music critics. He's like, I don't even read the reviews. So a lot of people don't read their social media. Famous people, they'll just get people to handle it for them, because it is a headache. It is a waste of energy, a waste of emotions. And I've learned my lesson because I got fucked up. That was a part of my breakdown, was being on Twitter every night, never going to sleep because I was just too addicted to it. So I had to really wean myself off by deleting it. I'm better now because I could see myself getting addicted to Instagram for the sexuality aspect of it. for the artistic side of it, for the comedy, because most of the reels I was watching last Saturday was like old sketch comedy sketches, and I was like, this is amazing. I could just watch this all day. So yeah, I said Instagram. I'm only on Instagram once every 2 weeks now, every other Saturday. After I give platelets, I'll give myself a reward to go on Instagram for the rest of the day or whatever, because it's too damn addicting for me, man. If I was younger, I probably wouldn't care, but now I'm trying to be more efficient and more productive in things I'm doing. And Instagram, it provides me a way to share all my doodles and my art, which I like. It's a cool way to do it, but I can get too addicted to it as well. All right, that's the end of Garrity's dream. I think it's cool to open up this episode with a dream because it's not over. There's going to be a lot of dreaming in this. We're going to go into Garrity's subconscious over and over again for more than half the episode, almost like a Wizard of Oz type of a feeling, where Dorothy gets knocked out, and then we spend most of the movie in Oz within Dorothy's head. I'll get you, my pretty. So there's a definite connection to Wizard of Oz here. I mentioned The Wizard of Oz. It's one of my favorite movies. I think it's still one of the best overall viewing experiences. It's weird. It's got all these weird symbolic elements. There's some weird folklore about the filming of it, some of the weird shit that happened. So yeah, it's one of the best movies of all time. I don't think I'd saying anything radical there. All right. Now we're out of his dream, and Garrity is waking up in his apartment, very upscale apartment. In his bedroom now, he's waking up in a panic, covered in sweat. He checks the sheets, and they're all they are completely covered in urine. So he pissed himself. He sighs to himself, apparently a problem he has dealt with before. Now he's in the laundry room in his apartment. Garrity is in his red, white, and blue robe. He's tossing his piss-stained sheets into the washing machine, and he's whistling the melody to All Things Must Pass by George Harrison. Now he's in the bathroom, and he's fresh out of the shower. He's shaving in front of the mirror, and he's grabbing a bottle of Gloritin pills from the medicine cabinet. Just like Lori, that's their connection. Lori was taking Gloritin pills, and she was having weird hallucinations and seeing that TV static. And Garrity is going to have his own experience now from these same pharmaceutical pills called Gloritin. How's your day going, Paul? That's a little tagline on the actual pill bottle with a little purple teddy bear mascot. And he's giving like the thumbs up, like the Buddy Christ from Dogma. And there's a tagline, just how was your day today, Paul Garrity? So he grabs a pill out of the bottle and he stares at it for a few moments, and then he places it back inside the bottle so he doesn't take it, and he keeps shaving as Jaguar woman's face flashes in the mirror. That same Jaguar woman, I'm not really sure how you're going to make her look. Something like a mix of Nightcrawler from the X-Men and Catwoman, like something really weird. But she's this fierce type of tribal woman, I think. And her face flashes in the mirror. Maybe like some kind of Aztec warrior, but it's not a man, it's a woman. I don't know if women were warriors in Aztec culture. All right, so he sees her face in the mirror and he cuts himself because he got kind of startled from it. He cuts himself on the chin, and he's sending a drip of blood onto the tiled bathroom floor. He gazes at the floor, which is now infected with black and white TV static, and this TV static is creeping up his foot towards his leg. So his leg is being invaded by this black and white static. Like he's really having a weird hallucination here. And that loud shrieking returns, that tinnitus, he's going through all these, that same noise from his dream is happening in his real life. So he smacks himself in the face over and over until the shrieking ceases. And then he stares down at his foot, which is now back to normal. So he just goes back to shaving, thinking, all right, that was weird, but I got things to do today. So he keeps on shaving, and he whistles more of the George Harrison song, All Things Must Pass. A little bit later that morning, Garrity is in his truck as the early morning sun is shining down. He's dressed in like a casual attire as he's driving through the upper class part of the city. And I'm thinking he drives some kind of a monster truck, big SUV, Hummer, or something like that. And he's listening to the radio. The news voice from the radio is saying, in the upcoming Senate runoff election, in tech news, 5G is soon to be the new reality as cities across the country prepare to harvest the many benefits it will provide to health and human services. He changes the station to a political talk show as the talking head from the radio is talking. It's exactly the same in the animal kingdom, ladies and gentlemen, and you must acquire the appropriate survival skills before you get swallowed up by this madness. Learn who you can devour and who to keep your distance from until they've been properly overfed, roaming around fat and vulnerable with defenses down. Garrity grins to himself while lighting a cigar as he keeps driving. Garrity, get him, Doobie, you crazy old fuck. He turns the volume up a bit more and puffs his cigar as the talking head continues on the radio. For that is the essence of our political machinery, whether you want to be a part of the whole charade or not. Might as well bite the head off the snake at the onset, like a new prisoner, affirming his stature by shanking the meanest son of a bitch he can find. Garrity drops his cigar accidentally onto his pants, and then he swerves into the next lane as he reaches for it, as the talking head from the radio continues more aggressively. There's a reason nobody on either side talks about the spies all around us, hidden in plain sight, the cameras in the clouds, the bogus news feeds reprogramming your brain chemistry as you enjoy your morning cup of joe. He relights his cigar. Garrity's talking to the radio voice. Easy now. Keep it together, buddy. So he knows this guy. He probably listens to this guy every day, and he's like, all right, he's even getting a little crazy now. The talking head on the radio continues his frantic ranting. Who is really in control? Are we all being systematically enslaved by a new techno-humanoid oligarchical war machine? What is really inside our cell phones? The radiation alone. Garrity at this point sighs and changes the station. Even he's had enough. Garrity. Man, people call me a provocateur. A mellow NPR morning show plays now. So completely the opposite side of the spectrum. He's listening to NPR as he stares at himself in the rear view, as the calm voice from radio is saying, if people will try meditating for just 15 minutes a day, studies show a clear benefit in terms of stress reduction and possibly eliminating anxiety attacks altogether. And Garrity's talking to himself here. Yeah, what about 55-year-olds who piss the bed? You got an answer for that one, smart guy? He puffs his cigar and changes the station to Mexican mariachi music as he laughs and makes shooting noises with his fingers as we drift closer towards his duffel bag on the passenger seat, where we see the tip of an AR-15 sticking out. And Garrity is singing along to this mariachi music, going, andale, andale, arriba, arriba. All right, let's move on. Now Garrity is carrying this duffel bag into his lobby in this skyscraper building. So he's in the city somewhere, downtown, like a nice skyscraper where his TV studio is, where his show studio is shot. He's walking by this overweight security guard in his 50s with his duffel bag, and the security guard saying, "Morning, Paul. You're here a little early today." And Garrity saying, "Big show to prepare for. Hey, make sure you watch tonight." The metal detector kind of buzzes as he walks through, and with a duffel bag, which is covering the tip of the AR-15. Garrity, just some weights. Trying to get back in fighting shape, you know. You know how it is when you get to this age. The security guard nods and jiggles his gut while Garrity salutes him and walks towards the elevators. Security guard, "You don't need to tell me, Paul." So they know each other. He's not going to stop him and check his bag. He just lets him on through. It's a believable story. I got some weights in here. That's why it's setting off the metal detector. Now Garrity's in the elevator. Moments later, he presses floor number 7. Then he stares at his reflection in the metal doors as they shut. So I feel like the elevator is kind of like a cool scene here. I picture like the Stanley Kubrick design, this really sterile, everything silver or that aluminum color, whatever the color that is. And it just has a mirror effect. He's just staring at himself on all these different angles from around this elevator. So he's staring at his reflection in the doors as they shut. He's gripping tightly onto his duffel bag as Jaguar woman returns, flashes next to him, and licks his face with her psychedelic colored tongue. He shuts his eyes and wipes his face clean, then calmly gazes over, but she's gone. As the elevator dings and the doors open. All right. Now, so the doors open, bing, and we're going into another dream automatically. Garrity is resting in a fancy red, white, and blue chaise lounge on this very remote or desolate desert landscape. He's just hanging out, puffing his cigar, as he's watching dozens of trolls climb over a long border wall from the other side. Jaguar woman suddenly appears behind him, wielding a bow and arrow. He casually sets her arrow on fire with his lighter. So she's holding a bow and arrow. He's lighting the arrow on fire. So they're kind of working together here. And she then shoots it towards the wall, causing the whole entire wall to erupt in flames. He casually watches the inferno as these dozens of trolls jump off the wall, roll around in the dirt to try to put the flames out. All these trolls are on fire now. Their colorful, spiky hair all ablaze. It's a very short dream there. We're ending the dream right there. And we're finding out that Garrity's been dreaming this as he sleeps in his office on his desk. This desert dream of him and Jaguar woman setting this border wall on fire as all these trolls are running for their lives as their hair is ablaze. So he wakes up in his office, sleeping on his desk, his laptop in front of him, along with a towering pile of tabloid papers, as his producer, male, 30s, no nonsense, storms in. Producer, Paul. He taps on his desk to wake him up. Producer, Paul, we really need to go through the script. Paul. Garrity finally wakes up, wipes away drool, and fixes his disheveled hair. Garrity, don't you knock anymore? The producer doesn't acknowledge his query and continues. Producer, listen, I'm happy to give you some leeway with this whole cartel angle, but I don't think this line of questioning is exactly the route we want to be taking here. Garrity now opens up one of the tabloid papers and covers his face with it. Garrity, don't worry about it. I got it covered from here. I've done this 100 times before. Producer. That's why I'm worried. Are you all right mentally? You seem more off than usual. Garrity. I'm just fine and dandy. Maybe I'm becoming woke, like those kids keep proclaiming. The producer snatches the tabloid covering up his face and tosses it aside. Producer. We need fresh perspectives. I don't know if you've checked out the ratings. Garrity cuts him off and says, will you shut it already? My audience is more loyal than anyone else on this shit network could ever dream of. Producer. That may have been true in the beginning, maybe even a few years ago, but your audience is also old as fuck now if you haven't noticed, and quickly going the way of the dinosaur. Garrity's being sarcastic now. Real soft touch you have. I always respected that about you. Garrity lights a cigar and continues, you know what? That's fucking ageism. I should contact legal as soon as you leave. Producer. No, it's just reality. Old people tend to die. At quite an alarming rate, actually. Garrity. What about Disney? Didn't he freeze himself? Can't we just put some of the older viewers on ice? Defrost them when the ratings get real awful? Producer. I'm going to need you to make a genuine effort to attract a younger demo. Garrity cuts him off again. Garrity. Oh, fuck right off with all that younger demo shit. Producer. Have you ever even checked your Twitter page? Garrity. You told me not to. You told me not to. Just let the interns handle it. They know how to manipulate attention, clickbait or whatever you call it, burner accounts, bots, all that juvenile, trollish shit that I already told you I want nothing to do with. Producer. Fine. But you need to at least realize that some changes are coming soon, whether you're all in on them or not. The producer grabs one of the tabloids. Producer. You can't keep going down these rabbit holes of royal family, alien abductions, and lizard people government coups. Garrity. Hey, I haven't spoken a word about lizard people invading the Senate in months. Producer. All I'm trying to say is that progress and change are inevitable in this business. Garrity stands and slams his cigar in an ashtray. Garrity. What the hell do you know about this business? You really think social media is any more respectable than these tomes of wisdom right here? He tosses some of the tabloids at him, just like throwing it right at him. Garrity. And these things still sell just fine, by the way. He now opens up his laptop and types forcefully onto the keyboard. Garrity. This what you want? Me staring into this black void all day? Turn me into a blogger? Start a damn podcast? Or an Insta photo model? Model? And the producer says, Instagram. Garrity. Insta fuck whatever. Just let me do my damn job. And if you're lucky, I might keep you around for a little while longer. Let you work on my firewall or whatever the hell that email was about last week. The producer walks towards the door. Producer. That email was about network security, Paul, and you were supposed to respond to it by last Friday. He pauses at the door. Producer. We wouldn't want someone hacking into one of your social media accounts to tarnish your golden reputation as a hard newsman, would we now? The producer walks out, frustrated, slamming the door, as Garrity relights his cigar. Garrity. And he's yelling so the producer hears him through the door. I don't even know who controls my social media accounts anyway, asshole. Now Garrity is forcefully shutting his laptop. Garrity. Fucking firewalls. So, yeah, we're showing the new generation versus the old generation there. This producer, I had him in his 20s or 30s, and Garrity's in his maybe early 60s or whatever. and they're just having a go at it. They're trying to kind of reach a younger crowd because Garrity's audience is all old people, like 70-year-olds. It's got to be a real thing for a lot of cable news channels. I don't know. I don't speak to a lot of people, but I would assume no one below 50 or 60 is watching CNN or Fox or MSNBC or any of the other ones. They're going to go like the newspapers went eventually. Newspapers kind of lost steam in the 90s. They kind of disappeared. Everyone's getting shit online. And cable news is going to go the way of the dinosaur as well. Maybe take another 20 years, but yeah, that's my prediction at least. People want to watch what they want to watch. People want to live in a bubble, and you can do that much easier from YouTube and other stuff online, podcasts. And there's nothing wrong with that. I do the same thing. I'm a podcast guy right now. I'm not listening to music at all. Just in my time when I'm editing these things, and even when I sleep, sometimes I listen to podcasts about philosophy or classical literature. That's what I'm trying to get into right now. And sports. Yeah, sports is a big one. But also music. I listen to a lot of music podcasts, but in terms of listening to actual music, that's kind of non-existent for me right now. All right. And it's kind of funny that Garrity just dreamt about firewalls. Really, that was the symbolic way of showing it. He doesn't even know what a firewall is. But he's just saying, fucking firewalls. He doesn't know what the hell he's even talking about. And, all right, so now he's leaning back in his chair. He's puffing his cigar. He still thinks he's the king of the network. That's how he views himself. Like, he built this network up. He's been doing his show for 30 years with a loyal fan base. But now he's old and his audience is dying because his audience is all that type of certain generational demographic. He's not attracting a new audience. So everything's about ratings. Even Trump was saying that when he first ran for president. He's like, I'm giving CNN all these ratings. They should be paying me. Everything's about ratings in cable news. It's not about, I don't know. Well, I'm not going to say they're spreading propaganda exactly, but when it comes to which story are we going to highlight? We're going to highlight the story that's going to bring the most viewers to the table. So that's why we're going to show things that scare people, show things that capture people's imagination, like Donald Trump running for president in his crazy rallies. Of course they're going to film that shit as their own camera people are like being assaulted. That's great television. Like, you can't write that shit. That is like the sequel to Network was like the Trump first presidency, or the election up to it. It was like a sequel to the movie Network because everything was getting so fucking weird, man. It's still pretty weird, but I guess people adjusted to it. So that's Garrity. Garrity thinks he's the king of the network, but his ratings are probably in the toilet right now. And that's why the producer's like able to yell at him like, Paul, I know you've been here for 30 years. You're the king of this. You've created over the last 30 years, you've been bringing in a huge audience, but now it's disappearing because these people are dying off. He's trying to get him to freshen his image a little bit just to get some younger people to watch him. And Paul is just kind of stubborn in his ways, and rightfully so. He's like, man, I've been doing this for 30 years. This young punk's going to come in and tell me how to change. That's his motivation for that scene. All right, so he's just relaxing after that argument. He's looking at a newspaper headline, one of his tabloids, and he's viewing a headline about Adam and Eve's incestual offspring reproducing with alien lizard people. Like some kind of headline about that. And then he reads another article headline about a jaguar devouring 7 tribal villagers in Colombia. This is like a National Enquirer, one of those tabloids with stupid alien stories. So he laughs to himself, flips the page to a photo of a beautiful young female pop artist who will be known later as Zanya. I don't even know how to say her name now. Zanya. I'll just call her Zanya. That's easier to say. So it's this female pop artist named Zanya. And in this picture, she's staring longingly. Garrity is staring longingly towards her in the newspaper as he reads the headline, "Pop diva loses her voice after overdose." So tabloid newspapers are kind of his zen place. When he reads the tabloids, he's like all happy, puffing his cigar, reading the fucking tabloids. Because I'm trying to compare that to social media. There's really a lot of times, unless you use social media just to talk to your family and friends, a lot of times it could be destructive. People spreading false information and bullshit, outright bullshit. And they get away with it because they're probably not even real people. It's very weird, man. Twilight Zone would have loved being around right now. If the Twilight Zone existed, it would be all about, it would be Black Mirror. Like Black Mirror took over in that legacy of social satire, political satire. Black Mirror became, openly they admit Twilight Zone's a big influence. And I'm trying to do the same thing, so I love that shit. All right, moving on. A little bit later that day, Garrity is now dressed in his suit, about to go on air, or he's on air, and he's sitting behind his news desk, his duffel bag down by his feet, with the AR-15 still poking out, as 2 panelists are sitting nearby him at another desk. So it's a typical cable news show, the way they set it up. Remember Hannity and Combs? Like, that's what I'm thinking of, because I did kind of grow up with that. I would watch a little bit of everything because I was trying to get into political science, and I'm like, I better pay attention to this shit. So in my early 20s in college, I would watch Fox, I would watch MSNBC, CNN, Daily Show, and eventually I think I just kind of got disgusted with all of it because I don't really watch anything anymore. All right, so Garrity is speaking. Tonight, on this Garrity exclusive, I promised we would talk with a real-life member of the Mexican cartel, all the way from Guadalajara, Mexico. And as you all should know by now, I have always been a man of my word. But first, let's check in with tonight's panel. Panelist 1 is this blonde female conservative, and she's winking towards the camera. Panelist 1, thanks for having me, Paul. I've been watching your show since I was just a little girl. Panelist 2 is a male with long hair. He's kind of the wimpish liberal, and he's leaning forward. Panelist 2, hi, Paul. I just hope we can all keep things civil tonight and have an intelligent debate for once. Panelist 1, I don't think that will be a problem if you finally admit how much you libtards hate America. She smiles wide, while a large screen on the wall shows a Mexican cartel member, male in his 40s, as he sits in front of a desert landscape, but it appears like a very, very bad green screen fake, the background projection. And it says at the bottom, Juan Doe, via satellite from Guadalajara, Mexico. So he's participating in this debate from this screen, like he's really in Mexico. They called him Juan Doe because he didn't want to give his real name. I'm just going to call him cartel member, but he's on this screen, so he's not in the studio. And he's got a really bad Mexican accent. Hola, Mr. Garrity. I can't even do it. I can't even do a bad Mexican accent. Hola, Mr. Garrity. Garrity. Now, I believe you go by the name Juan Doe out of concern for protecting your real identity due to your lifestyle of drugs and rape and beheadings. Is that correct? The cartel member. Mr. Garrity, my name and lifestyle are of no importance to this conversation. What is of importance is the racist garbage you peddle on this so-called news show of yours, gringo. I just want to take this time now to give a shout out to my fallen cartel hermanos. He pours out a bottle of tequila as Garrity cuts him off. Garrity, whoa, amigo. I don't care how hard it was to get you on my show tonight. You will not peddle false accusations against me and my loyal audience. Panelist 1 jumps in the conversation. Panelist 1. This is just another example of how the leftist radicals and their anarchist cohorts are trying to bring this nation down by letting killers like Juan here set the immigration policy for us citizens. Cartel member. Easy now, senorita. Don't get spicy unless you want to get spicy with me. Garrity stares towards his duffel bag, appearing a little off his game as he's starting to sweat profusely. As Panelist 2 cuts in. Panelist 2. Listen, everyone. What we really need to be talking about here is how the so-called new conservatives are planning to erase all current districting regulations, creating a new frontier of extremely unfair and restrictive voting rights. He holds up his book, titled The New Conservative Path Towards the Apocalypse, with a cover drawing of an American flag nailed to a cross, like it was being crucified. Panelist 2 continues. If you all would read my book, which is currently number 2 on the New York Times bestsellers list, you will learn all about. Panelist 1 cuts him off. Panelist 1. Will you stop pushing that filth? I still can't believe any publishing company will let you release that pornographic, heathenish excrement. Garrity tries to take back control of his show. Garrity. All right, easy now, you two. Now he's talking towards the screen, towards Juan. Now, Juan, will you explain how the cartel can justify the rampant drug running along the border, ruining the lives of so many American citizens, or the rape and gang violence plaguing our great southern states? Cartel member. There's no such thing of this cartel you speak of, Mr. Garrity. These are all just prejudiced scare tactics with no legitimacy. But if there was such a thing as the cartel, they would only be acting as a legitimate business, merely supplying the demand of your drug-fueled population. Garrity glares towards him like he's trying to suggest something to him. Garrity. I have to say that you speak English pretty well, amigo. Maybe a little too well. And it's about damn time for your side to admit your true agenda right here, right now, on my show tonight. Is it merely money, power, land, or do you just plainly hate our freedom? Panelist 2 leans forward. Panelist 2. Paul, you cannot be serious with this line of questioning. If you look at chapter 7 of my book, he holds his book towards the camera again as Panelist 1 snatches it and tosses it across the room. Panelist 1. Criminals like Juan are sneaking through underground tunnels as we speak, poisoning our Jesus-loving, law-abiding citizens. If everyone in the audience, now she is holding up her own book, and it's titled Left Behind with Leftist Radicals, with a cover drawing of a muscular commando Jesus descending towards Earth, brandishing an AR-15. Panelist 1 continues. So she was saying that if everyone in the audience would buy my book as she holds her book up, you will fully realize the threat all around us and how to protect yourself from this un-American assault. The The cartel member continues now. Un-American? You got that all wrong, mija. I love me all things Americana. That's why my people will soon take our land back. And you want to know why? Garrity cuts in here. Sure, Juan. Why don't you explain to the millions of American patriots watching right now just how the leftist agenda in Congress is hell-bent on selling this nation out? The cartel member. Well, Garrity, Mr. Garrity, we fuck more. That's why. And to be quite honest, we're just better at fucking than you prude gringos are. Now the cartel member is making humping motions as the show turns into a complete circus with everyone talking over each other. All right, so everyone's going to be like a typical news show. I'm going to read 4 lines of dialogue here, but everyone's saying these at the same time. Garrity is the first one. This is my show, amigo. I don't care how things are done in your desert cabana, but this is America, goddammit. Panelist 1. What a sick and twisted heathen. You see what happens when they take prayer out of public schools? Panelist 2. We all just need to take a step back here, relax, and admit that borders are just artificial creations of our paranoid military-industrial complex. The cartel member. Anyone out there want to make some Mexican babies with me tonight? They're all saying these things on top of each other to make it like really like a sketch comedy almost. I almost wrote this like a sketch comedy. Like it is a satire of cable news to the most absurd degree you could imagine. All right, moving on. At the same time all this madness is happening, we go into the production room, kind of like a tribute to Network. In the movie Network, they're always going to the production booth to see the people in there, their reactions to everything. Faye Dunaway and the people actually filming everything. It's an interesting way to show how the news is really just a form of entertainment. A lot of it is. All right, inside the production room at the same time, the producer of the show is the guy that we met before, the one that was arguing with Garrity in his office. The producer is viewing the show on one of the screens on the wall as a few young assistants and interns sit around him in disbelief, while also checking social media sites on their phones. So they're just kind of used to this madness, not paying attention, kind of like numb to it all. These are probably young kids, these interns. Probably college-age kids, yeah. Assistant 1, man, I wish we did live broadcast. Assistant 2, seriously, bro. And now he's talking to the producer. I thought you said you talked to him earlier about this. The producer, I did. Some troglodytes don't take constructive criticism very well. So this is what he's talking about. This is what Garrity's show has devolved into, this type of fear-mongering that is just so absurdly obsolete almost. Like people aren't buying into this type of language anymore. Back outside in the cable news studio, Garrity is staring down towards his duffel bag as it gets kind of tense here. Maybe that the noise comes back and he gets like that tinnitus attack. But he's staring at his duffel bag, which has the AR-15 inside, and he tries to calm things down. Garrity, all right, we're going to have to bleep all that out, so easy with the language, amigo. My audience will not tolerate that disrespect. The cartel member pulls out a handgun and fumbles it clumsily. Cartel member, you think you have all the answers? So what exactly is your answer to this, pendejo? He awkwardly holds a gun over his head, apparently not very familiar with firearms. Garrity, I'll show you my answer, amigo. He opens up his duffel bag and pulls out his mighty AR-15. Garrity, and it's my good friend right here, Mr. AR-15. back in the production room, the producer is freaking out as he stares towards Garrity wielding his rifle on one of the screens, while more assistants huddle around him and laugh. Producer, God damn it, Paul. Does anyone know how he got that gun in the building? Assistant 3 steps forward. Assistant 3, should we cut now and start from the top? The producer ponders for a few moments while watching Garrity point his gun towards the camera. Producer, fuck. Just go with it for now. Maybe we can salvage some of these shots for a promo later. So he doesn't even know what to do at this point. Back in the new studio, Garrity walks in front of his news desk with his gun as the camera operators frantically move around, trying their best to stay away from his AR-15 pointed in their direction. So he's kind of just waving the gun around, and all the camera people are like, oh, fuck. They're still trying to shoot it, but they're like, fuck, is this thing loaded? And Garrity continues his ranting. My dear fellow Americans, you have seen the truth exposed right here tonight. What these liberal traitors want to turn this country into if they once again gain control of Congress. He clutches his gun against his chest like a soldier. Garrity, if it was up to them, I wouldn't even be able to own this undeniable symbol of God's freedom. He sits atop the news desk and continues. Garrity, if we want to survive in these murky times of communist plots and global terrorist networks constantly rigging the system to nullify our natural-born freedoms, we must all remember the hard lessons passed down by the founders of this Judeo-Christian promised land. Give me liberty or give me death. He sits between the two panelists, who are both anxiously sliding away from him on their rolling chairs. So they didn't get the memo that Garrity was going to pull out this rifle. And they're like, all right, is this part of the show? And they're kind of sliding away like in their sliding chairs, like, yeah, all right, sure, Paul. Garrity continues, I broadcast tonight as a beacon of golden light to alert every good-hearted American free soul out there that if the unbathed hypocrites have their way, America will no longer be the land where freedom rings, passed down from so many great American fathers to so many great American sons. He points his AR-15 right at the camera now, as the camera operator ducks for cover. Garrity, I pray all of you remember the words I end each and every show with. Tonight, my good friend here at the ready, with a bit more gusto. He marches away from the set. Garrity, a good guy with a gun. All right, so he does his own little speech there. We're back in the production room the same time as the producer is watching Garrity walk away with his AR-15. Producer, sure, Paul, just walk around the offices with an automatic rifle. Real fucking smart. Assistant 2, it's a semi-automatic, actually. Producer, shut the fuck up. The producer paces around the room, trying to calm himself down. Not sure what to do. Assistant 3, should I go get him? Tell him we need to reshoot? Producer, yeah, go run after the madman with a gun. Bark instructions in his crusty caveman face. The producer slams his earpiece down in frustration. Producer, somebody call security, just to be safe here. The guy's been off his rocker for the last few weeks now. Fuck. I really don't need this shit today. The producer storms away, while the young assistants pay him little mind, their eyes down in their phones. They're probably tweeting this stuff like, you won't believe what Garrity... They're just, mindless phone zombies. The producer is kind of in the middle of those two generations. Garrity is representing the old guard that even though they probably don't understand social media, like even Trump can take advantage of it and manipulate information and use it to his benefit. But Garrity's more on the side of he's the old school, kind of like the character in Network who's the trying to be the respectable reporter. I forget his name. And the one that Faye Dunaway falls in love with or has a crush on, and they get romantically involved. So maybe Garrity's a little bit like that. He's the old school trying to fend off this new generation of cell phone addicts and social media disciples. So he's trying to survive the best he can in this new era of information, because this really is the era of information. The information age is the digital age. The internet age is really just the information age. It's a different way to get information to the people. The radio, then television, then the internet. And what's to come next, I don't fucking know. Maybe some kind of a telepathic thing, and I'll get into that later, actually. All right, let's continue this story. We're on page 20. All right, we're in the parking garage of this building. Moments later, as Garrity is walking towards his truck, wielding his AR-15, while the cartel member, who we thought was in Guadalajara, Mexico, according to the screen at least, hurries after him from behind. His awful Mexican accent now gone, so he's just talking like a normal American accent, whatever that is. I don't say where I set this. I don't know where to set this. It's just an American city. Doesn't matter, I guess. It could be the South. It could be the Northeast. It could be California. I don't know. I never said it has to be a specific place. So this cartel member that was just on the news report is really just an actor. He was pretending to be a cartel member, and now he's chasing after Paul in the parking garage. And he's saying, Paul, would you just hold up, man? Garrity turns around. Garrity, hey, was about to get some lunch. How about some tacos? I still call this guy a cartel member because that's what he was pretending to be. I don't want to change his name. So whenever I speak this character, he's just known as cartel member, even though he's not really a part of the cartel. He's just some actor that they paid to be on the news show, pretending to be a cartel member. And he's saying, come on, man. What the hell was all that about back there? You went way off the script. Garrity opens the back of his truck. Garrity, yeah, well, what about you? You said you could play an authentic Mexican gangster. Not exactly going to win any awards with that acting, compadre. Cartel member. Sorry. Must have lost myself in the moment. I'll do better the next take. He ducks down as Garrity carelessly points the gun towards him. Cartel member. Would you please just get rid of that damn thing? Garrity places the gun in the back of his truck. Cartel member. Paul, you been sleeping all right? Garrity. What the hell business is it of yours? Cartel member. Sorry for trying to be your friend. The two men calm down, lean against the back of the truck together. Cartel member. I don't know, maybe you just need to take a break from all this political bubble bullshit. You've been doing this garbage for way too long, man. Garrity. Garbage? Is that what you really think of my show? Cartel member. You know what I mean. Fuck your show. Go to Kansas or somewhere. Hang out in the fresh country air. Play with your guns where there's no other people around. Or go full Bundy rants and join a damn militia. I don't give a shit. Just get away from this carnival for a while. Garrity. I can't just leave my show during election season. Cartel member. Motherfucker, it's always election season. Get away before this shit permanently stains your soul. Whatever's left of it at this point. The producer, the lobby security guard, and two other suits a man and female, probably the lawyers or something. He just wanted some witness. The producer's like, dude, I'm not going to see Garrity by myself. I'm bringing people with me. So he's taking some witnesses with him. And they storm into the garage towards Garrity and the cartel man, producer. What the hell were you thinking? Especially in today's climate. Cartel member. Hey, go easy. He's been under a lot of stress lately. Producer. Stress? You want to talk about stress? Fucking fuck. I'm not about to exit this world in my 30s due to a stroke and or aneurysm caused by this madman's lack of judgment. Garrity gets up in his face. Garrity. Hey, you wouldn't be here without this madman, so watch it. I built this show, this empire. You can't handle the job, then get the hell out. The producer storms away, frustrated, followed by the other two suits. Producer, motherfuck piece of shit. To the suits. You see what I have to deal with on a daily basis? The security guard eyes Garrity. Security guard. You could have got me fired, Paul. Garrity pats him on the shoulder. Garrity. Well, I'm genuinely sorry for that. Was only trying out a new idea to boost ratings a bit, and I didn't want to involve anyone else. If they give you any more shit, you just let me know. Garrity grabs his gun out of the back of his truck. Garrity. Besides, what's the big problem here? It isn't even loaded. He hits the trigger of the AR-15 to discover that it's most definitely loaded as the forceful kickback catches him off guard and knocks him violently backwards into his own truck as the others duck down onto the pavement for cover. Garrity blacks out as everything spins around him like he was Dorothy during her Twister scene, entering an entirely new realm of consciousness. There we go. We're at page 23, and we're about to maybe go for 20 pages in Oz, in Garrity's version of Oz. When he shot the gun, I guess he didn't know it was loaded. And, well, of course, he didn't know it was loaded. And the kickback sent him right into the truck, and he banged his head and just passed out. The other two men, luckily, didn't get shot. They just went for cover on the ground. All right, we're going to begin this. I was thinking I would split it up. Once they get to the dream part, I would split this up and continue part 2 later, but I'm going to keep going, maybe get another 10 pages out. Let me see if I can find a good place to stop or take a break. All right, we're entering Garrity's dream world, his version of Oz. Alabama Shakes is my recommended song, Gemini. The song Gemini by Alabama Shakes. It's not quite a psychedelic album, but there are elements of it that are pretty trippy. Alabama Shakes, Sound and Color, that entire album is really, really awesome. All right, Garrity is walking through the puffy white haze towards a mysterious door, and he's dressed only in his red, white, and blue robe, and he still has his AR-15 strapped behind his back. The door opens automatically as he approaches, and he drifts inside towards a psychedelic swirl of colors, almost like when the Wizard of Oz becomes black and white to color. That's kind of what I wanted to pay tribute to there. So maybe even this first part of the dream, everything is just white, black, and gray. And then he opens the door and he's entering Oz. So he's descending down into this psychedelic jungle. Like he's going into an entirely different universe. Skies are painted in wild psychedelic streaks, and smiling neon pink birds fly past him and wave. So you can get really crazy. This could be a CGI effect, or this could be the episode turns into an animation. I don't know yet. It would have to get figured out later. Since I do have animation in this series, maybe it makes it easier if he becomes an animation. like Roger Rabbit or a movie like that. I'm not sure how I see it yet. It could work on either way for me, to be honest. Just make it as crazy, psychedelic as possible. And sometimes an animation does that better. All right, so Garrity's descending down into this crazy jungle. He's clutching his AR-15, and he lands and bounces off of these green and purple clouds. So he's still in the sky. Colorful polka dots are sparkling around him like fireworks. And then he lands on these giant colorful mushrooms that cushion his fall. And then he slides down onto the colorful jungle terrain. He's gazing in awe towards this sensory overload of psychedelic patterns, oddly shaped trees, like he's in a Dr. Seuss book, with oddly shaped fruit, while all these lizards are lighting up like neon signs, like flashing. A jaguar woman watches him hidden behind a tree as lightning bolts strike the top of an electrical tower in the distance, and dozens of smiling, tie-dyed frogs leap together in unison. So there's that electrical tower again. It's the symbol of progress for me. The electrical tower, just like in Rinse and Repeat Part 1, they thought it represented God. Garrity is not a part of that time. He knows electricity. He's a part of the electricity generation. He's lived with electricity his entire life. So it means something different in his perspective. And these weird frogs are all singing together. A new world hangs outside the window, beautiful and strange. It must mean I've fallen away. It must be sound and color. That's an Alabama Shake song. All these weird frogs are singing it together in like harmonies. A little bit later, Garrity is passing through this jungle and he's walking over dead tribal warriors. They all have these jaguar headdresses on and they're covered in multicolored blood, some with their limbs completely severed off their bodies. He bends down to inspect the corpse of a female tribal warrior who's missing a left arm. He removes her headdress and notices that her ears have also been sliced off and replaced by stitched skin. So none of these people have ears. To his shock, she opens her eyes, pulls him in closer, and touches his forehead, speaking through telepathy. So she's still on her last few heartbeats. She's not dead yet. Female tribal warrior. And this is telepathy, so I guess it's a voiceover. She's speaking through her thoughts. There are other doorways yet to be opened, where you will find no more fear of the unknown, no longer reluctant to shed your shadowed skin. She takes a bite into his left ear, like Mike Tyson, and chomps out a small chunk of it. As he pushes her away, he then wraps a red, white, and blue bandana around his head, like a karate headband, to cover his ear wound as she takes her last breath. Now Garrity is marching around dozens of more dead tribal warriors who all have their ears cut off. And then he spots a beautiful tribal woman sobbing against a tree, wearing a crown of colorful flowers. She's Zanya, the pop diva from his tabloid, the same lady. And now she has stitched skin instead of her ears, so she doesn't have ears. She has very bright red hair and glowing golden skin. He motions towards the dead warriors scattered throughout the village and kind of like speaking to her. Garrity, what happened here? She moves back in fright. Garrity, it's okay, I won't hurt you. She wipes tears away and places her hands on his forehead, also speaking through telepathy. Zanya, there lives a sorcerer in the high tower who curses the air with his malevolent waves, commanding his army of wind demons. Garrity, wind demons. Zanya, carriers of animus even into the minds of those once united in peace and love. We're going to do a short flashback. Maybe earlier that day through this village, a tribal group is chanting in harmony, bowing their heads and banging drums, kind of having a celebration ritual, as lightning bolts strike the top of the electrical tower, lighting it up in black and white static. The sky suddenly turns dark, and a massive shock wave zooms towards the village, causing high-pitched shrieks, as Zanya is doing a voiceover to tell this story. Hearts and minds warped, not even vestiges of their former spirits, unaware of their thirst for chaos, dormant within, until such a moment arises. The tribal warriors cover their ears and fall to the ground, their bodies convulsing, while the other villagers dash out of their huts in a panic as the shrieking echoes even louder. The shock wave disperses and the villagers rise off the ground, but their dispositions appear much different than before, as they attack one another in frenzied bouts of madness, while the warriors join in and fight one another in bloody combat. Zanya is still doing her voiceover here. When those once in harmony wish only death upon each other. So this was a united tribe, but whatever this electrical tower, whatever frequency it's putting out, it's causing these people, family, tribe to want to kill each other. So it's kind of related to that. And it causes them just to get all aggressive, because I'm trying to make that connection between watching the news, or even you could go back to War of the Worlds, where people thought aliens were attacking because it was a radio prank, but people actually went insane. Some people went insane and thought it was real, and they're like, oh my God, the aliens are coming. That's the power of mass information, mass propaganda. Whether it was intended to do that or not, you never know how people will react to stuff like that. That's why the internet can be dangerous. For certain people can become victims to social media disinformation and stuff. All right, let's continue. It's not a very subtle metaphor. There's a movie that I watched during this. It was a horror movie, kind of a comedy from the 90s. And it was exactly about that. Some frequency was turning neighbor against neighbor, some sound frequency. And yeah, it was pretty interesting. I don't remember what it was called. All right, now we're back to the psychedelic jungle out of that flashback. The flashback is just showing what happened to all these dead warriors. They ended up killing each other because of this electrical tower and because of all that frequency noise. So now it's the end of the flashback. Zanya is now staring deeply into Garrity's eyes as she gently touches his forehead. Zanya, voiceover. My people have fought this beast for many generations, but the evil grows ever stronger. She points towards the electrical tower as powerful bolts of lightning strike the top. Zanya, VO. I could not save them. She sobs into Garrity's arms. Garrity, it's okay. You're safe now. I picture Zanya like a creature from Avatar. Like really beautiful, but yeah, that blue lady was hot. The blue alien was hot, man. I forget the actress that played her, but yeah, it's alright if you get sexually attracted to cartoon characters or anime. Some people like that porn. So I picture her like that, almost an anime character, or something out of Avatar, but she's got no ears. She cut her ears off. So these warriors probably cut their own ears off to try to prevent the frequency from fucking with their heads, but it was too powerful. And it still seeped into their brain waves and caused them to freak out like that. I'm sure there's real weapons like that. There are like EMT or some shit. I don't know what it's called. Maybe that's the wrong. I don't think it's called EMT. That's something. That's just EMTs. I forget what it's called, but there is some kind of weapons that supposedly do stuff like that. Electromagnetic weapons or that can mess up electrical grids and stuff like that. There's probably something related to frequency weapons. All right, let's continue. A little bit later, Garrity and Zanya are resting under the shade of a tree. And this tree is full of cube, pentagram, and triangle-shaped fruit. She feeds a piece of fruit to Garrity. Then she plants the pit into the purple jungle dirt. She shuts her eyes, moves her hands over the dirt, and performs a ritual chant as a small tree instantly sprouts from the soil. Then she places her hands back on Garrity's forehead and speaks to him through telepathy again. Zanya, what else exists, ever so intent on constant, malignant bloodshed? Every time she speaks in this jungle, she's speaking through telepathy, through her thoughts. So I just put it as a voiceover. I guess that's how you do it. They share an intimate moment, which quickly ends as lightning bolts strike the top of the tower, sending another shock wave towards them. She quickly grabs his hand, charges to the top of a cliff, as he shields his ears from the shrieking. Now she's stretching her arms out, pushing forth a strong gust of wind towards the incoming waves to deflect them away, as her hair turns white and her skin instantly wrinkles like she just aged 40 years in a few seconds. He catches her frail body and shields her from the waves as the shrieking echoes louder. She's trying to fight against the frequency waves with her magic powers, whatever the hell she's doing. I kind of look at this like Storm from the X-Men. She can do something kind of similar to that, create this gust of wind to kind of deflect the frequency away. But it also has effects on her body. It ages her. Moments later, Garrity is carrying Zanya's withered body as she's passed out through a peaceful clearing, sparkling purple mountains in the background. He lays her down near a red, white, and blue waterfall as the water flows down into a glistening red, white, and blue lake. He now collects some of the water using a large leaf and pours it onto her lips as Jaguar Woman watches him, camouflaged in the colorful ground nearby like a chameleon, able to change her skin color at will. So Jaguar Woman's just hanging out, watching what the hell's happening. Zanya now awakes and squints up towards Garrity, then limps into the lake and swims towards the waterfall. She disappears for what seems like an eternity as Garrity anxiously waits for her to surface. He dives underwater to search for her. Then he swims back to the surface to catch his breath. Then he dives back down. Zanya is now restored to her younger self as Garrity finds her underwater and swims next to her, and they embrace as they share an underwater kiss. So the water had this healing power that turned her back to her youthful self. Later that day, in another part of the psychedelic jungle, near the waterfall, Garrity and Zanya are both still dripping wet from their swim, and they're marching by neon-colored trees and bushes towards a large, burning purple bush. Garrity's pupils dilate as the purple smoke blows into his face, while the jungle glows even more alive, like a fully realized LSD experience. At this point, dozens of fireflies descend down and light up the area like psychedelic Christmas lights as they buzz together like they were chanting, Om, Um, um. The fireflies start singing together now. Science, they explain it to me. There's no joy I can take with knowing what's waiting here for now, but not for long. When will my mind slip away? Explain that to me. I'm in over my head, loving so deeply. I'm in over my head. You can make that a longer performance if you want. These fireflies, like a Disney scene, they're singing together in harmonies. It's another song by Alabama Shakes, Over My Head. Just to add to this surreal, psychedelic experience, the frogs were singing, the fireflies are singing. Zanya and Garrity are watching the fireflies with glee as they giggle like children, and then they roll around on the grass and kiss again, as a tiger with 7 different colored heads, 3 at one end and 4 at the other end, growls just a few feet away from them. So this really trippy tiger, he has 3 heads together at one end of his body and 4 heads on the other side. Garrity rises to protect Zanya from this beast, pointing his AR-15 towards the tiger, ready to fire. But she pushes his weapon away, calmly hugs the beast, and communicates through telepathy as the tiger licks her face with one of his faces, one of his tongues, one of his 7 tongues, and then scampers away into the brush. A little bit later in the jungle that day, the psychedelic sun begins to set as Zanya playfully rolls on top of Garrity, stares into his eyes, and touches his forehead. Zanya. Remember, this is all telepathy, at least when she's talking. Do people believe in love where you come from? Garrity. Maybe more in a general sense, but it isn't exactly portrayed that way. Zanya. Why? Garrity ponders for a few moments. Garrity. I can't really say. Maybe some greater force is testing our tribal temperament for entertainment purposes. Or maybe it's just another cyclical imperative passed down from every generation. Zanya. Like the wind demons. Garrity. Sure. Kind of like the wind demons. She kisses his lips. Zanya. I don't want to live here alone. He helps her up, and they dance together through the jungle as the other jungle creatures emerge from the bushes and trees and sway along with them. So yeah, you want to make this really trippy, man. He's dreaming this really weird shit. He's having a romantic dream right now with this crazy woman who he saw in the tabloid paper as this pop diva. But in his dream, she's just this jaguar princess or whatever. And he was reading that tabloid article about the tiger that munched 7 people in Colombia. So all these things are in his subconscious, and they're coming out in this really weird dream. But you should make it very playful. I'm not trying to get dark at this point. He should be enjoying himself. Like he's getting back to nature in this dream. And the effects of politics and frequency, electricity, all that stuff cannot affect him in this state. So he's singing right now as he's dancing with Zanya. Sunset doesn't last all evening. A mind can blow those clouds away. After all this, my love is up and must be leaving. It's not always gonna be this gray. That's the George Harrison song. I forget how it goes. All things must pass. Sunset doesn't last all evening. It's something like that, but Garrity can handle this singing better than me. It's a good song. I really like that album. Beware of Darkness fits this story perfectly. George Harrison, Beware of Darkness, and just the title track, All Things Must Pass. Just really amazing songs. All right, Zanya is cuddling closer to Garrity in his chest as the high-pitched shrieking suddenly returns. powerful enough now to rip limbs from trees. They sprint away as the TV static invasion spreads like wildfire through the jungle. Garrity's yelling, "Keep running, keep running." And you have to picture all the audience is going to hear is this loud, high-pitched shrieking, like the tinnitus attack. Garrity leads Zanya towards a clearing, but she trips on a black and white log and gets infected with the static. So her body is changing from this colorful, beautiful skin to just black and white television static. It creeps through her whole body as Garrity watches her disappear into this sea of black and white static. He touches her hand, then convulses on the ground and disappears with her into the expanding static. Jaguar Woman creeps out, vibrant as ever, immune to the TV static, as she prances over the black and white terrain, the only colorful being left in the once psychedelic jungle. All right, let's continue. We're going to continue in Garrity's dream, but we're going into a new dream setting. Snow-covered plains in the daytime. Think of the Donner Party. Think of the frontier people moving west, fighting through the harsh wintertime as they got to places like, I don't know, Wyoming or the Dakotas. Like, I don't know how people survive. Colorado. That's what I'm going for in this setting. Garrity is waking up naked, alone, in a foot of fresh snow, his AR-15 strapped behind his back. He's shivering as he gazes towards an 1840s covered wagon parked just a few yards away. Through this sea of white, he notices a small campfire near the wagon and hurries towards it, his bare feet struggling in the deep snow. There's another connection between him and Lori. They're both walking through snow, bare feet, in their bare feet. He hears chewing sounds of flesh and falls to his knees in front of the fire as it burns in a dugout patch of land with a tarp protecting it from the wind. A family of 7, 3 men, 2 women, and 2 young children, dressed in frontier clothing, calmly munch on pieces of human flesh as Garrity vomits into the snow as soon as he notices this, then backs away in shock. They laugh like lunatics and continue eating, while a grizzled frontiersman in his 50s rises, bites into a crispy human ear, and pulls a metal poker from the fire. He charges towards Garrity, who is way too shocked to fire his weapon, and stumbles away through the snow in fear. Alright, so this is kind of the Donner Party, but a much more horrific representation. This family of 7, including one of the men is this grizzled frontiersman, 2 children, I didn't give them male or female, whatever they are, and they're all eating from another family member. They're eating the flesh of one of their fallen family members to survive. And then the one grizzled frontiersman is now chasing Garrity with a metal poker. Now we move towards a frozen lake as Garrity sprints onto the frozen lake with the grizzled frontiersman gaining on him from behind, wielding his poker. Garrity slips, then falls hard on his back and stares towards the clouds as they morph into black and white TV static, while the thin ice around him cracks, and the grizzled frontiersman is saying, "Come back now, son. Dinner time." So he's almost like a serial killer. "Come back now, son. Dinner time. Here's Johnny." The ice splits completely as Garrity's naked body slides down into the freezing water, while he sprays a few rounds from his AR-15 blindly into the air. The grizzled frontiersman watches him sink into the icy water, then walks away disappointed, whistling the melody of Merle Haggard's "If We Make It Through December." he's whistling "If We Make It Through December" by Merle Haggard, that kind of depressing Christmas song in a way. All right, so that's a short little dream sequence. It's almost like Inception. Now we go into a deeper dream. We're going into different layers of Garrity's subconscious here. He started at the psychedelic jungle. He fell in love with Zanya. And now that was over. Now, because the black and white static took over the jungle. So now he's waking up in this frozen tundra, and he's falling into the frozen lake water as he saw the clouds are turning to black and white static. So now he's going into a third dream, and this is in a city apartment. He wakes up in a closet, naked in a bathtub. I just thought that'd be funny, kind of a surreal, maybe 1920s New York. People lived in small apartments, they still do. But he's waking up in this closet with a bathtub inside, and he's still naked, he's still hyperventilating, and his AR-15 is the only thing remaining from his other dream, strapped behind his back. He finally climbs out of the bathtub carrying his AR-15, trying to catch his breath, as he's now searching for clothes in the closet. There's a bunch of clothes hanging throughout, and he's trying to pick out an outfit. All right. Now, that night, Garrity walks out of the apartment onto the sidewalk in this city, and he's dressed in a white George Michael t-shirt with "Choose Life" written on the front, and his AR-15 strapped behind his back, as lightning bolts strike a large antenna on the roof of a skyscraper, making it appear more like an evil villain's fortress. So he's looking at this city street, and way down is this large skyscraper with an electrical tower on top, kind of like in the shape of an antenna, almost like an electrical tower on top of the skyscraper, and it kind of looks like an evil villain's fortress as the lightning bolts strike it. Zanya, now with ears, is walking down the opposite street as a golden flash sparks above, illuminating the skyline with streaks of green, red, and purple like the northern lights. Garrity charges after her as smaller flashes spark in the sky now and reflect psychedelic colors onto the buildings and onto the street, onto billboards and vehicles, as pedestrians stare around in awe. A businessman grabs his throat and falls to his knees, struggling to breathe, as colorful flakes rain down. Businessman: "The air is poison! The air is poison!" Panicked masses run through the streets now and block traffic, as others exit their vehicles and run for shelter, adding to the chaos. Businessman: "Run to the hills!" So there's a mass panic here. There was some kind of an event. I forget what it's called. I can't think of the term. It's going to bug me, but I haven't done research on this in a while. There was some event in the early 1900s, I believe, kind of like a Northern Lights type of thing. And that's what I was going for here. Everyone's freaking out in the city because we see these flashes sparking in the sky and all these psychedelic colors flashing onto the buildings and streets, almost like the psychedelic jungle is invading the city. I forget what it's called. I'll have to find it later and try to remember. The Carrington event. Is that what it might be called that? Hold on one second. I'm about to take a break anyway, so Carrington. I gotta look it up because it's gonna bug me, and by the time I'm done this, I'll forget anyway. I think that's what it was called. Yeah, see, my memory's still there. The Carrington event. The most intense solar storm, in recorded history. occurring on September 1st and 2nd, 1859. It was triggered by a massive solar flare and coronal mass ejection, a CME, that hit Earth in a record 17.6 hours. This caused spectacular auroras visible as far south as the Caribbean, disrupted telegraph systems worldwide with sparks and shocks and fires, and demonstrated the power of solar activity to affect technology. A similar event today could cause catastrophic damage to modern power grids, satellites, communication systems, leading to widespread blackouts and long recovery times. Yeah, maybe I heard this on Joe Rogan. Maybe it was from the Randall Carlson episode. Him and Graham Hancock talking about how humanity's fucked if one of these things happens. Because humanity has lost the ability to hunt and gather, and we've lost those survival instincts. I think that's when I heard of this, the Carrington event. So it's pretty interesting. Maybe I'll look into it later, but let me finish reading a couple more pages. I'm on page, lost my place, hold on. Where did we left off? We left off at everyone's freaking out over these, alright, there we are. We're on page 31. Alright, the businessman was freaking out. Run to the hills, everyone, run to the hills. Garrity pushes his way through this crowd, this mob of panicked pedestrians, as Zanya jumps on top of a car to avoid the stampede of people. Garrity finally gets to her. Hey, we gotta get out of here. She jumps into his arms, then points towards the lightning bolts, striking the antenna at the top of that skyscraper. Now she's speaking without telepathy, so she's speaking normally. Zanya, we must put an end to this duplicity once and for all. Another golden flash sparks in the sky, sending a shockwave through the city, with enough force to knock out the entire electrical grid. As she leads him forward, Zanya, quickly! They push forwards towards the skyscraper as colorful lights envelop the street like a tie-dyed painting. Moments later, Garrity and Zanya are running down the street towards a fancy temple. It's a less crowded area, as black and white flakes are raining down on them. They cover their faces with their shirts, then run for cover inside an ornate red, white, and blue temple. Maybe these flakes are like burning them or causing them to have some reaction, so they're trying to run for cover here. They go inside this temple. That's kind of odd, but remember, this is a dream, so you can make it as weird as possible. There's just a temple in the middle of this city block, like out of nowhere. Garrity, like an ancient-looking temple, like something you find in Mexico or Belize or one of those tribal places, Peru, Machu Picchu. Garrity and Zanya sprint inside this candle-lit open space, passing sculptures, displaying the evolution of weaponry throughout the ages. As they look at a wooden club, then a spear, then a hatchet, then a samurai sword, then a musket, then a rifle, AR-15, then a nuclear warhead, monks are chanting from a distance off screen. Om, Om. So they hear these Om chants coming from somewhere, and they're heading right towards the chanting. They pass a large mural depicting the War of the Worlds radio broadcast, and they hear the monks chanting, getting louder. Om, Om. Garrity grabs a lantern off the wall as they creep closer towards a chained cellar door, and the monks continue chanting in the background. Om, Om. She rubs her hands together and burns through the chains. So she still has some magical powers. And then she opens the cellar doors as the chanting echoes even louder. They go down the steps into the cellar as Garrity and Zanya are now inside this room, and Garrity's holding the lantern up to display 7 monks chanting in unison in a circular formation, dressed in red, white, and blue Uncle Sam outfits. So it's 7 monks in a circle. They're all dressed like Uncle Sam, and they're sitting in that cross-legged style, chanting Om, Om. Garrity walks to the middle of the circle, stands over a large Om inscription on the floor, OHM, because Om also is like some kind of a measure of electrical output or something. Ohms, yeah, OHM. So he's walking over this large inscription on the floor that says Om. Then he pokes one of the monks with his AR-15. Garrity, hey, what the hell is all this? He continues chanting. The monk is continuing to chant, ignoring Garrity completely. As the monks chant louder, Om, Om, Garrity gets a little angry. Hey, I'm talking to you. The monks continue chanting, Om, Om. Garrity gets even angrier. Hey, don't you know who I am? He points his AR-15 right towards the monk. Garrity, I just want some goddamn clarity here. The high-pitched shrieking returns, this time even more painful, as Garrity falls over to his knees and covers his ears. Jaguar woman walks out from the shadows wielding a fancy, shiny dagger, elaborately carved with lightning bolts on the handle. She hands it to one of the monks, then disappears into the shadows as the shrieking ceases. So there's Jaguar woman again. She's always like popping up in random places. She's almost like the one constant. Wow, we found her in the beginning of this script, and she just keeps reappearing. I'll get into that more later, I guess. So she's wielding this fancy shiny dagger. It's got all these elaborate carvings of lightning bolts on the handle, and she's handing it to one of the monks. And then she just disappears as the shrieking ceases. So it's almost she's connected to this frequency. When she disappears, these high-pitched noises disappear as well. The monk lifts the blade over his head, this dagger, and he thrusts it right into his heart. And he's bleeding out, completely emotionless, feeling no pain, as he passes it to the monk on his right, who also thrusts the dagger through his own heart, and then he passes it to the next one. And each one is having this ceremonial suicide. Garrity and Zanya are watching this in horror as each monk stabs himself to death. So then they're like, let's get the fuck out of here before whatever these guys are doing infects us. So they'd sneak away towards a back door and get the hell out of there. All right, continuing, they're back on the city street. They're right near that big skyscraper as more lightning bolts are striking the top of it. And these black and white flakes are raining down onto them, this static. A twirling sign mascot is blocking their path, dressed in a purple teddy bear costume, and twirling a sign with the writing, Gloritin, just how was your day today, Paul Garrity? Twirling sign mascot through creepy giggles. Have a Gloritin day. So it's a very creepy mascot. A purple teddy bear is the mascot for Gloritin Pharmaceuticals or whatever it is. Gloritin's the name of this drug. And he's twirling this sign that's just like the pill bottle. How was your day today, Paul Garrity? You could get real weird and creepy with this, of course. And he's saying, have a Gloritin day. Garrity marches right up to this creepy mascot and hits him hard in the mouth with the back of his gun, knocking him out. Then he opens the front door and follows Zanya inside. Alright, I'm debating if I should stop here. I'm going to stop here and then come back later. When we come back, we're going to get into that big rant that I wrote. And maybe about 30 pages left. Less than that. About 30 pages left. Or less than that, actually. We're on page 34. So 23 pages left. We got through more than half of this. I want to kind of refresh my thoughts and get ready for this big rant. And because that's really the best part of this story coming up. As Garrity and Zanya are going into the skyscraper, which looks just like the lobby of the place Garrity works. It's a carbon copy of it. It might look a little different because he's dreaming all these weird things, but we're going to see how that ends up going. Again, I've been reading this dream for like 20 pages. Hopefully you understand what I'm going for. This is like the Wizard of Oz. Garrity's experiencing his own Oz. He went from the psychedelic jungle to the Donner Party, and now he's at this city scene during the Carrington event, or whatever, a similar solar event that's causing all these crazy things to happen. And now he's entering the skyscraper. That's what we'll continue when I come back. It's been kind of easy to read. My action writing isn't great. When I'm reading it aloud, I'm like, instead of writing he, I need to write like the character's name to make it more clear. So there's definitely some things I need to clean up to make it read easier. I didn't really notice it until now. When I read it in my head, it's more clear because I can read it really fast. I would read this in my head. I never read it out loud. And in my head, I can get through this very quickly because I'm kind of skimming through the action. All I really need to see is the scene heading, and I know what the scene is, and I know how the dialogue's going to go. But I need to write this with the intention of other people reading this, not myself. So, yeah, I'm learning that as I read my action right now. I need to be more clear with who's doing what in some of these scenes. But we'll come back and finish this. I need to take a little break from speaking, and I'll come back in like an hour or so. We're already 2 hours and 30 minutes, so I think it's a good place to take a breather and finish strong when I come back and finish this. And I'll speak more about some of the themes later. What the hell is Jaguar Woman? I don't even know if I have an explanation for that, to be honest. But we'll get into this kind of... I don't want to give anything away. It's a bit of a weird ending, but I don't know how else I could have really ended it. Just kind of similar to the Once in a Lifetime or The Last Prisoner. When you have a character study like that and you're dealing with social satire and some political shit, it's hard to develop like everyone lives happily ever after. But it's a satire. It's supposed to be dark in a way. I mentioned the movie Triangle of Sadness yesterday with Woody Harrelson's in it. And because I kind of picture Woody Harrelson as Garrity sometimes. I don't know if I really picture him now. Yeah, I kind of picture Woody Harrelson sometimes, especially towards the last scene. And Triangle of Sadness is a pretty dark satire about economic philosophy. Triangle of Sadness. I talked about it just a little yesterday. It's been years since I watched it. It's not fresh in my mind, but it's pretty damn good. I think it deals with a lot of Black Mirror, satirical black comedy stuff. That's what it's kind of termed as. Reading on Google right now. Triangle of Sadness 2022 is a satirical black comedy by Ruben Östlund about a celebrity model couple on a luxury cruise for the ultra-rich, which descends into chaos after a storm, upending social hierarchies. The film stars Harris Dickinson, Charles B. Dean, and Woody Harrelson. And it won a bunch of awards, yeah. It critiques capitalism, beauty, and power through its absurd and often grotesque scenarios, particularly during a disastrous captain's dinner. That's when the Woody Harrelson scene kicks in. It's pretty good. And the subsequent struggle for survival on a deserted island. There's one actress I would mention. I think her name was Dolly De Leon. I think so. Yeah. Dolly De Leon, Filipino actress. And I have another episode idea later on, and I kind of picture her in the role. Because this movie had a lasting type of impact. I was speaking about nip tuck, the nip tuck generation, people who got plastic surgery, boob jobs, butt implants. Why are people getting butt implants? I don't get that. You just want to have a huge butt, like as cushioning. I don't get the boob implants really either. Like, if I was married to a woman with like smaller boobs than me, and she wanted to get boob job, I would probably tell her no. Like, why are you gonna get boob jobs? Put fake shit into your body. It's creepy, dude. Like, it is creepy. You gotta be honest about it. I know it's a lot of money. People enjoy. Maybe it's a status symbol. The Botox and the liposuction. People view it like a Rolex watch. Oh, I just spent 10 grand to get my varicose veins removed. Let me tell you. Like, yeah, it's such an absurdly, it's an absurd side effect of vanity. And it's usually people from the past generation. I don't know if kids today are interested in that. I kind of feel like plastic surgery will go down because people will be like, why am I putting this chemical shit into my boobies? It makes no sense. And they probably go bad after a while. I don't know how it works. But I'm afraid to search for that, but I'm going to do it anyway. Why do people get butt implants? Because I've never understood that. Some people like to have big butts. Like, it's an attractive thing, but it seems like it would weigh you down. Why do people get... I hope this doesn't bring up porn stuff, but it might. Why do people get butt implants? Because I think that's a real thing, unless it's just people making it up. People get... This is according to Google. People get butt implants primarily to increase the volume, shape, and roundness of their buttocks, addressing areas that are naturally flat, square-shaped, or sagging due to genetics, aging, or weight loss. They are chosen to achieve a more voluptuous, balanced, and contoured figure. Yeah, I don't get it, man. Like, I don't mind watching those rap videos and stuff, or some of those other porn genres. It was about like BBWs and people with big butts. It's like a porn genre, yeah. But I don't understand it. Now, if you're a porn star, I guess it can increase your profitability. But even that, when you leave the porn industry, like, you're gonna feel weird. So I don't understand plastic surgery. I could see if you're a burn victim, if somebody gets a skin graft because they get like third-degree burns and they want to get improve their appearance and they do something like that, all right, then I'll be like, that's kind of, I probably would want to do that too if that happened to me. But if I was a woman, would I want to get fake boobs? Like, I think that's such an absurd thing to do. Waste of money, waste of your time and energy to what? So you could stick out your cleavage more? Like, I don't understand it, man. Yeah, it's weird to me. The triangle of sadness kind of goes into that. In the beginning, it's showing all these beautiful models and that type of an industry, which I don't know how true it is. I don't know what it's like to be a model. But I'm sure there's a lot of that in there. That competitive drive to look better than your other younger people. As models age, like actresses always say that shit. Actresses have been saying that forever. Like once they reach 50, their roles are always diminished. I guess for men too. It's not just a woman thing. Like you're never gonna have a 70-year-old Batman, a senior citizen Batman. That's kind of funny actually. Get like, I don't know, could George Clooney play Batman again? Now he's like 30 years older or whatever the fuck it is. I can't think of any funny actors that would play Batman next. Get like a 78-year-old Danny Trejo, get him to play Batman. He'd be badass Batman. But yeah, I guess everyone's trying to delay the aging process. I don't understand it. Even if I was a woman, I don't think it would matter because women seem to care more about their appearance. They're the ones putting makeup on, keeping the makeup industry successful, keeping the fashion industry. If it was left up to men, there would be no fashion industry. That would be nothing. Like I know there's the Project Runway, and there's plenty of men who design. I used to watch that. It was actually pretty entertaining as a form of art. Project Runway. There's plenty of male designers and male models, but it's definitely a feminine side of entertainment industry. I don't think men really care about high fashion that much. At least my own experience. I never cared about that shit. When I was a kid, I think I looked up to Zach Morris. Like that's what I wanted to look like. I wanted to be the preppy. I wanted to be Zach Morris because he got Kelly Kapowski. So maybe I wanted to look like that dude. But I don't know if that was really a fashion trend. The Southern California Saved by the Bell look. That's what all the cool kids were doing. But, alright, I'm going to come back and finish this. I was tempted to do this all in one take, but I don't think I have the ability to do that without taking a short break. And it's good because the rant that I'm going to get to is going to be probably 3 pages long of just Garrity ranting all of his frustrations, all of his nonsense. And it took me a long time to write it. Like, I pay attention to my dialogue because I'm very self-conscious. I don't think I write good dialogue. I think people will laugh at me. They're all going to laugh at me. People will laugh at my dialogue because maybe it's not realistic or using the right terminology. I always get kind of scared about that more than the action writing because I feel like you can understand the action writing even if I don't write it in the most clear fashion. But if the dialogue isn't good, well, number one, if the story isn't good, if the characters aren't good, then all the technical stuff doesn't matter. You could be the best writer technically, but if the story sucks, who gives a shit? So I'm very kind of worried a lot. In the beginning of this, I was like, my dialogue is going to suck because I don't really have conversations with other people. I was living like a hermit. My only connection to society was through television and watching sports and watching movies and television for a good long period of my life. Even before I lost my job, like I would go to estate sales on the weekend, meet people like that. That was my fun little side gig. Go to Goodwill all weekend, go to estate sales, go to thrift stores in Philly, and yeah, just get a part of that community because it is kind of interesting. It could be competitive, but I wasn't really that passionate about it. Like I was going to quit my job and become a storage war person, going to storage auctions. I never really considered it because that's kind of a big operation. You got to have a truck, you got to have transportation, you got to be able to clear out these storage lockers, and I would need to get more people to help me do that probably. So when I was going to estate sales, I was looking for records and maybe record players, stereo equipment, and that's about it. If I saw something really cool and it was a good price, I would buy it. Like sometimes they would have rolls of aluminum foil for like $1. I'm like, fuck, man, that's like $5-6 at Walmart. So I would buy kitchen supplies sometimes. But I lived very minimally. Even at that point in my life, I was living a pretty minimal existence, and it just got progressively more minimal, more minimal. Plus, I was running out of money, so that's kind of why I needed to live as simply as possible to stretch out my retirement fund that I didn't plan to use when I was 40, but that's what circumstances led to. So I was kind of trying to do that, but there were some weekends where I would get kind of obsessed with vinyl, and I would buy like $1,000 worth of records because I wanted to build up my collection again, which was a waste of money because I lost it all. And yeah, it was a weird time, but my knowledge of dialogue does not come from having long conversations with people. One of my teachers in college said writers would just go into a park or a restaurant and just sit there, or a bar, a club. Well, a club's too loud, but I could see a bar working. You just go to these places and you listen to people talk. And if something catches your ear, you think of something that could work in a line of dialogue. I like the improv technique, the improv technique from shows like Curb Your Enthusiasm. A lot of that is just these really well-rounded actors that can carry a scene like that. Like, I don't know how much of it is improvised on Curb Your Enthusiasm compared to a script. I don't know if there's a percentage like that. But I've always been a pretty big fan of that. When it first started, there was one early episode when Larry and his wife are making like Christmas cookies, and he eats one of them, which is like the baby Jesus or something. And there's some joke there that I forget what it was. And then there's an episode early on where Larry breaks up like a baptism ceremony. He like runs into the lake because he thinks someone's drowning or something. And everyone thinks he's proud of his Jewish heritage, so he's preventing this person from getting baptized and converting to Christianity. I like that type of humor. There's the whole like his neighbor was kind of like playing Wagner, and he got all pissed off because Wagner was like a known Nazi or whatever. That was kind of funny. The baby Jesus and like the manger scene outside the church. There's a lot of good early episodes that got me addicted to that brand of comedy. And I don't know if it's still on. Yeah, and then after Katrina and the family moved into his house, I like that one comedian, I forget his name. What is the percentage of improvised dialogue That's what I wanted to look up. Improvised dialogue. Because that would be very difficult if the entire show on Curb Your Enthusiasm, if that entire show was just improvised, that would be amazing to me. They say on Google here, Curb Your Enthusiasm is nearly 100% improvised. Instead of traditional scripts, creator Larry David and his writing team drafts a loose 7 to 10 page structural outline called a beat sheet for each episode. The outline dictates the plot points, character actions, and how a scene needs to transition from point A to point B. I would love to see how they make an episode. If Curb Your Enthusiasm still does shows, yeah, please do it behind the scenes, because that would be so cool to watch. How many times do the actors mess up and stuff, though? It can't be easy. It can't be easy to improvise dialogue like that. I'm just thinking of myself. I have kind of a brain fart. I'm not a conversationalist. If I was on that show, I'd just run. If Larry David's like, yeah, man, come be on this show, on this episode. And then he starts a conversation, I'll just be like, I won't be able to think of anything to say that's clever. So I would just sprint the other direction. End of my acting career. Yeah, I don't know how people do that. I can see sketch comedies when you go to an improv and they're shouting at the crowd, oh, give us a character, give us a setting, give us a time period, and then they can form a sketch from these ideas, but they're so good at it because they do it every day. They probably repeat themselves sometimes. Comedy can become redundant like anything else. A fresh comedian's perspective is hard to come by. Even if you're not, and I really do try not to outright steal from anybody. I would never do that. Because of all the stuff I've consumed throughout my life, it's almost like a form of stealing, because you're influenced by Curb Your Enthusiasm, Seinfeld, The Simpsons, Family Guy, Rick and Morty, more lately Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul, Mad Men, and just well-written shows like that. I think Mad Men's just amazing in terms of the writing and the that's a type of social commentary, even though it's from a different time period. You can relate Mad Men to today's culture. We're still addicted to advertisements. We're still addicted to the vanity that I spoke about. If you watch Mad Men, it's all about selling people a fake version of themselves. They want to look rich. They want to look beautiful. They want to look intelligent. They want to look like they're upper class. That's what advertising can provide for a brand. Like there's the scene with the Jewish department store, and the woman saying, that's the problem. I don't want to be selling. I want to sell like Macy's and all these other fancy stores, Tiffany's. That's what I want my brand to be. I want to be able to, supply that to every demographic. Marketing and advertising is a different animal, man. There is a subconscious type of hypnotism to it to convince people to join in. And if you have this, you're going to be happy. As a kid, what are the commercials during in the 90s on Saturday morning cartoons? It's sugary cereals with all these fancy characters, sugary cereals, and then whatever toy commercials. Every commercial is just trying to get the kids addicted to consumerism so they beg their parents for money. Mom, Dad, buy this toy, buy me Count Chocula, Fruit Loops. That's what you're bred. Like, and it's really not it's not like it's not like Clockwork Orange. You're not being forced as a child to watch this stuff, but it's how you handle it. You're exposed to it early on, as a method of preparing you for what a capitalist society is going to value. You're going to make as much money as you can and buy as much as you can and keep buying because that's what's going to make you happy. And you can die happy knowing you bought all this shit. And it's a cynical way to look at it, but the simplest, the minimalist lifestyle kind of, in a way, is trying to free you from that. And, you grow out of it at some point. You don't look at every commercial like, oh, I want that, I want that, I want that. But some of it does seep through. Last week I was looking at I needed a new razor because I shaved my head. So I needed to buy a new razor. I'm looking at Reddit. I'm looking at all these places. Which is the best razor to shave your head? And eventually I found one because based on some guy on Reddit that said this is the best brand. But I don't know. It's really because I'm looking at the pictures on there. I guess on the Amazon site it looked the fanciest, and it's actually a good product, but sometimes it can be deceptive. I'm trying to compare that to like the Big Mac. You see the Big Mac commercial, it looks like the most amazing hamburger of all time. And then you get the real Big Mac, and it's kind of just like really sad looking meat. It's still delicious, but not that I've had one in like a decade. But when I used to eat Whoppers and shit, yeah, they're definitely delicious with all the different flavors on it. I used to get the Schmitter. I would work at the Philly Stadium for 3 hours, walking up and down steps, selling beer to people. And then after that, feeling all good about myself, I would eat like a Schmitter. Mike Schmidt had his own sandwich. I don't think they sell it anymore. It was like bologna and all kinds of shit. It was delicious. But it's probably like 5,000 calories or some shit like that. But yeah, why am I talking about this? I don't know. Well, I'm talking about advertising and marketing and how it's like the image you present yourself. The first thing they tell you as a salesperson is you have to sell yourself before you sell the product. I sold life insurance. The first thing the managers told us, you have to sell yourself before you sell our life insurance policy. And it's true. I'm not saying it's not true. If the people don't like you, they're not going to want you in their house. So you have to sell yourself. You have to present an image. Glenn Ross is the ultimate explanation of the life of a salesman or salesperson. Although it's an all male cast in that one. That's a great movie, Glenn Ross. I mentioned that a couple times. That's one of my favorite movies. That should have won Best Screenplay. Like whoever wrote that. Glenn Ross, 1992. They called it a crime thriller, but to me it's more like a stage play. David Mamet film about desperate real estate salesman. Did it win any awards? Glenn Ross Awards. Excuse me. Pulitzer Prize, Tony Awards. So it is like a play, yeah. You could have it as a stage play. That's how good the writing is. Really enjoy that. Like, I only sold life insurance for like a year and a half, so I don't have the experience to really talk about it. Jack Lemmon won the award for Best Actor, and the film was named one of the best top 10 films. Al Pacino nominated for Best Supporting Actor. Even Alec Baldwin should have got nominated for something, because that one scene he's in is so good. Bob Odenkirk was in the Broadway revival of it. That's pretty cool. Yeah, there's a guy There's actually a scene in Better Call Saul in the first couple of episodes when Jimmy walks into the boardroom and he's doing a line from Network, the Ned Beatty, I think he said. Ned Beatty Network, which I think he won Best Supporting Actor for his maybe 5-minute speech. Yeah. Ned Beatty. I think he won an award for that. Am I saying his name right? Ned Beatty. Maybe he didn't. Maybe I made that up. But Network did win Best Original Screenplay, I think. Alright, maybe he didn't, but Faye Dunaway won for Best Actress. Peter Finch won for Best Actor. Beatrice Straight won for Best Supporting Actress. And then Best Original Screenplay, Patty Chayefsky. Yeah. I thought he won for that. It is a memorable scene. I guess not. Alright, I'm going to come back and read the rest in about an hour from now. And when I'm done reading the screenplay, I'm going to talk about Network more. I'll talk about Black Mirror a bit more. I found transcripts of those two famous speeches, the Bing speech from 15 Million Merits and the Howard Beale speech from Network. So I'll probably try to read through those to show you how I got inspired to write my own. And I was really trying to copy that completely. I was trying to summon Howard Beale. I was trying to become Howard Beale because he's such a good his tone and the way he presented each line was just so perfect. Peter Finch, yeah. He was in a couple other Sunday, Bloody Sunday. Yeah, I don't really remember I don't remember him in any other movies because once you see him in Network, he's always going to be Howard Beale, man. Whoever casted him was like, he couldn't have picked anyone better. But I'm sure he's been in a ton of stuff throughout his life. But all right, I'll come back in like an hour or so and finish this up. It's going to be an interesting ending to this one. It gets a little dark, but you know, like I said, how else would you end a story like this? This guy is an aging cable news host. He's losing his mind. He's on these medications for a reason. Maybe he stopped taking it that morning, so maybe he's having kind of like the same thing as Lori had. Lori stopped taking her medications. She started hallucinating and having these weird childlike memories. She was acting like a toddler, smashing her TV and then begging Beverly to help her clean it up. I just lost my best friend. My television's gone. And now Garrity is living his own fears and trauma, and his bullshit is coming out in his dream right now. So yeah, he's losing his mind, and we'll see how his story ends up. Maybe it's not as joyous as Lori's ending. How did Lori end? Lori got to ascend into the heavens and become a constellation in the stars and reunite with her son's spirit, and she would forever be remembered in the night sky as a new constellation because whatever alien consciousness loved her music so much. She had a very happy ending. Even though she died, her physical body was no more. People will view that as a sad thing, but she got a happy ending to her life. She was able to resolve all of her past trauma and be at peace and be at peace with the universe. Stardust to stardust, and that Joni Mitchell song that I talked about yesterday. We are stardust. So will Garrity experience a happy ending like that? Well, we'll find out when I come back, but probably not. I'll just leave it there. Probably not.